Tuesday, after word of a settlement, it was back to work for both sides. Double time for some teams to get ready for what remains of a ravaged 1982 season. Among others, trainers and conditioning coaches emerge as key figures in the struggle to see who can do the best job of picking up the pieces. How close will it be to NFL football as we know it? We'll find out shortly as the Packers and the Vikings help get the NFL second season underway.
CBS Sports presents the National Football League. Today, the Minnesota Vikings against the Green Bay Packers.
The NFL is back, and welcome to County Stadium in Milwaukee as the Vikings take on the Green Bay Packers in the reopener for 1982. Forget about division standings. It's conference standings that matter now. The top 8 teams in the NFC will make it to the playoffs in the abbreviated season. The other 6 will have to stay home. Hi, everybody. I'm Frank Lieber along with Joe Green. I think most everybody likes that settlement under the circumstances, Joe.
I would say so. Normally at this point in time in the season, there are several ball clubs that are already out of the race. They got to like it.
Now, we talked to both coaches yesterday, and you wouldn't believe the differences they're taking in approaching this game.
Coach Bart Starr said that he would substitute liberally, and he had cut back his game plan somewhat. On the other hand, Coach Bud Grant said everything was normal, and he was going to play his players the full game. One thing is certain, though, there will be an awful lot of bruised bodies come Monday.
The weather conditions absolutely ideal, I would say, for this time of year. Sunshine, temperature at 47 degrees, and I think the players are going to get a break in that area. A lot of rain in the last couple of days, but it dried up nicely overnight, and we're ready to get underway. You look at the field here at County Stadium, you can still see the baseball portion of the infield. Normally they sod that after the end of the baseball season, but that's all changed now because of the strike. They did not sod the infield. Green Bay with a record of 2-0. The Minnesota Vikings 1-1. Some strange things have happened to the schedule coming into this game. For example, the Green Bay Packers will play their home opener and closer December 12th in Green Bay. That will be the only game they will play in Green Bay this year. The other 3 home games are here in Milwaukee. And of course, they will not play the Chicago Bears this year, and that wipes out the oldest, longest continuous rivalry in the National Football League. 60 years. Goes back to 1922. Vikings will kick it off, and we're all waiting to see what kind of football game can be played with only 4 days worth of preparations. Bud Grant says everything is normal. We'll see. Harlan Huckleby is back there deep, along with Del Rogers, as Rick Danmeyer prepares to kick off. This stadium holds about 55,000. They had 2,000 or 3,000 seats available this morning, and they said it was unlikely that they would sell out. Danmeyer awaiting the whistle from the referee, Pat Haggerty. He's got it, and the NFL season is underway again. Little argument over that one, finally taken by Del Rogers, the rookie 3rd-round draft choice from Utah, and Rogers carries it back to the 28-yard line. Here's the Packers as they line up. Of course, the big threats there, Lofton and Jefferson, 2 of the premier wide receivers in all of professional football. Green Bay's offensive line has 1 change starter, Tim Huffman, starting at left guard, replacing the injured Darryl Goforth. He's suffering from a groin injury going into this game. Eddie Lee Ivory, the Packer running back, is the #1 rusher in the National Football Conference after 2 games. And Dickey brings him out of the huddle with Lofton to the right side and Jefferson to the left. That's Kaufman, the tight end, in motion, and Dickey back to throw on the first play. Fires it over the middle and over the outstretched arms of John Jefferson. 2nd and 10 for the Packers at their own 28-yard line. Green Bay trying to go 3-0. Here's the Vikings. They play the front 3. Duck White will alternate with Charlie Johnson, the former Eagle, at the nose tackle position. 4 outstanding linebackers headed by Matt Blair and Fred McNeil, 4 of the best in the league. And the Vikings secondary, which has undergone some wholesale reshuffling the past couple of seasons. And the Packers will try to take advantage of that. 2nd and 10. Dickey on the delayed handoff going to Ivory. And Eddie Lee Ivory hit at the 32-yard line after a pickup of 4 on the play. It'll be 3rd down 6.
Coming into this game, Frank, both coaches felt that the passing game was going to get a little bit more attention than normal.
4.5 yards per carry for Ivory, and Bart Starr indicated he would shuttle plays in using his backs, thereby giving him a bit of a rest. Bart says he will probably alternate players on series of downs, but he's going to play a lot of people. 3rd down 6. Packers from their 32. Dickey gets it away, and it's almost intercepted. Hannon, number 45, at his hands on the football, and almost picked it off, and the Packers will be in a punting position.
I think we're seeing some of the effects of that layoff. That pass play was poorly timed there. The quarterback threw the ball behind the receiver.
Ray Stackowitz, off to an outstanding start with a 46-yard average early in the season, will be punting to Eddie Payton. Low snap, but no problem for Stackowitz, who hits it good. Payton backing up to the 16-yard line. Fields it there. Upfield to the 20. Spun around at that point and down at the 21. So good coverage by the Green Bay Packers specialty unit. And particularly by John Thompson, who got there first. Number 87 spun him around and into the arms of Randy Scott, who made the stop. The punt covered 50 yards, and the Vikings go to the offense now. Ricky Young starting in place of the rookie at the running back position. The Vikings offensive line. Joe Sensor, an outstanding tight end. The rookie, of course, we're talking about is Darren Nelson, the #1 draft choice from the Stanford, and the first rookie running back ever to start for Bud Grant. Delayed handoff. Right into the middle of the line. Terry Jones making the stop on Ted Brown, number 23. And short yardage picked up on that play. Both teams kind of feeling each other out here as the season gets restarted. Packers played the 3-man front. They went to that last year, and they have an outstanding group of linebackers there. Secondary has seen some changes as well over the last couple of years. Pickup of 4 by Brown. It is 2nd down and 6. Again, Brown getting the call. He carries the ball normally twice as much as any other back, and that's very close to first down yardage at the 32-yard line. Rich Wingo making the stop. There's Brown's figures on the season. That yard per carry average is very impressive, Joe.
Yes, it is. It looks as though Coach Grant is sticking to his game plan. He said that nothing has changed. As you know, some of these coaches are saying that they were going to throw the ball a little bit. He's got a first down by running 2 plays.
Sammy White wide to the right side. Ahmad Rashad is split to the left. 1st and 10. Minnesota Vikings at their 32 with the first down of the ball game. Young this time is out to the 35 and runs right into the nose tackle Terry Jones, number 63, along with Wingo. Ricky Young, one-time San Diego Charger, fine pass receiver. And Bud told us yesterday he's going with Young as a starter today because of his edge and experience over the young man Darren Nelson. There's Bud Grant. 16 years the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings.
He says that football players take an awful lot of pride in themselves. They come in the game in shape, and he's playing them as though they're going to be in shape.
2nd and 8. Be interesting to see what happens around the 4th quarter. He doesn't substitute much. Kramer over the middle after the 40-yard line, hitting Bob Brewer, his second tight end. The tackle made by John Anderson, number 59. The ball will be spotted at the 40. It's a couple of yards short of the first down as you look at Bart Starr, the head coach of the Green Bay Packers, now in his 8th year and number 5 in longevity in the National Football League, behind Tom Landry and Bud Grant, Chuck Noll, and Don Shula. 3rd down. Vikings need 2 for the first down to keep this drive going at their own 40-yard line. Game is just about 4 minutes old. No score. Minnesota, Green Bay at Milwaukee. Tommy Kramer. Absolutely nothing there for Ted Brown. as Wingo, number 50, penetrating, the third-year man from Alabama, with an assist from Mike Douglas, number 53.
This play was made by number 53 coming out of the left of your screen, Mike Douglas, who forced the runner back into Ringo, number 50. A big play by the defense.
Fourth down. Vikings need 4 for the first. And Greg Coleman drops back in punt position. Philip Epps, rookie receiver from TCU, fields the punt at the 20. Epps just 165 and a real flyer trying to get outside but can't do so, and is dropped at the 22, and the Green Bay Packers will take it from there. 10 minutes 25 seconds left to play in the first period. 49-yard punt.
I was known as one of the meanest players in hockey, but I didn't deserve that, right? I'm just a nice guy who comes in and has a few light beers from Miller with the boys. A pussycat who drinks light because it's less filling, and it tastes great. Really, if I was a nasty player, may a lightning bolt come down and strike this very spot.
Light beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer, and less.
The Green Bay Packers, if they pull off a victory today, would go 3-0 for the first time since 1966. That was the year of the first Super Bowl, when they beat the Kansas City Chiefs, beat Dallas in the championship game in Dallas 34-27. That's what Green Bay's looking at with a victory. First and 10 for the Packers at their 22. Eddie Lee Ivory across the 25 up to the 28-yard line. That's the longest game the Packers have had on the ground so far. Well, Bob Brewer, the tight end, has worked up a sweat. Didn't take much time, Joe.
It certainly didn't. I think these first couple of series here, you're going to see both ball clubs trying to feel one another out.
Ball is spotted at the 29-yard line. A pickup of 6 for Ivory. It'll be second down and 4. Gary Ellis wound up with the football, and Ellis takes it to the 34. Going to be about a yard shy of the first down. Willie Teal, 37, coming up from the secondary.
You know, some things that in practice what you can't work on, that's tackling. This is why this play worked right here. You're going to see a lot of missed tackles here. Ellis does a good job of running, but there were some missed tackles in that play.
Measurement time. Our first measurement of the new season. And it is a first down, the first for the Green Bay Packers at the 34-yard line. We talked to both coaches, and both seemed to indicate that they would probably go much more to the short passing game, because the timing is so much tougher.
It is a little bit more difficult to establish a running game, but as you can see here, the running plays that we have seen, they have been short, direct type of running plays, kind of simple running plays.
John Jefferson wide to the right side. Lofton is split to the left for the Green Bay Packers from their 33. Dickey, great catch by Jefferson at the 50-yard line. First down for the Pack at the 50. John Jefferson hasn't lost it.
One of the easiest type of passes to throw is a quick out like this when the defensive back is giving you an awful big cushion here. This was a very simple pattern.
17-yard pickup on the play. The officials spot the ball just into Minnesota's end of the field. The Packers' first penetration of the afternoon. No score, 8 minutes and 42 seconds left to play in the opening period. Lofton to the left side. Again, Jefferson to the right. Kaufman, the tight end, starts in motion for the Green Bay Packers. Lynn Dickey under pressure is sacked back at the 38-yard line for a loss of 13 on the play. Vikings really came rolling through there that time, particularly Mark Mullaney, number 77.
Coach Bart Starr said that the offensive line was going to be at a disadvantage because of this layoff, and right here it shows. Dickey was worried about number 77, Mark Mullaney, when watching the films.
Mullaney is a guy who hustles on every single play. Number 24 is Johnny Gray, the Packer defender, looking on right now, getting a breather as the Packer offense at work. Loss of 13 on the play will set up a second down and 21 for the Packers, who are back at their own 39-yard line. Dickey on the screen to Ellis. Ellis 40, 45, and stopped at the 46-yard line. Green Bay looking at 3rd down and 15 needed for the first down. One of the Packers getting up a little slowly right now. Leotis Harris, an offensive lineman, back into the huddle. We were talking to Rashad last night. Ahmad was really funny, wasn't he? We're talking to him about Bud Grant. Bud says, you know, they're going to play just like normal, play the whole game. And Ahmad says Bud doesn't have to play, right? What was the other line he gave you about how long he was going to play?
He said, how long is the game going to last?
That's what Bud said. You better be ready to be in there. 3rd down, 15. Green Bay from their own 46. The Vikings doing a bit of stunning, and we get a whistle prior to the snap. Delay of game against the Packers. 30-second clock ran down, so that'll cost Green Bay 5 more. There's the officiating crew headed by Pat Haggerty. And Pat's mic obviously is not working. There's a few things they have to get out of the way, you know, since this is the season reopener. And one of the things is the official's microphone. No score, 7 minutes left in the opening period. Packers with a 3rd down and 20 on their own 41-yard line. Green Bay 2-0 with 2 tremendous come-from-behind victories. One over the Rams, the other over the Giants. Vikings faking the blitz this time. Dickey, good protection. Jefferson makes the catch. Did not have enough for the first down at the 42-yard line of the Minnesota Vikings. They're about 3 shy of the first as J.J. pulls down his 2nd of the afternoon.
One of the big things that the defensive line did have an advantage over the offense, trying to put pressure. Here, the offense does a good job of protecting the quarterback and allows him to make the long completion to Jefferson, number 83.
4th and 3 from the Minnesota 42-yard line. And Stakowicz is back to do the punting. Payton is the deep man. He'll angle it for the near sidelines and try to pooch it out of bounds. Not quite. Into the end zone for the touchback, and the Vikings will take over at the 20-yard line. Still no score here in the opening period at Milwaukee County Stadium with 6 minutes and 15 seconds remaining in the quarter. Frank Lieber along with Joe Grain at Milwaukee. Rams have jumped out in front of the Atlanta Falcons. Our score is 0-0. Minnesota 1st and 10 at the 20-yard line, and Darren Nelson, number 20, the number 1 draft choice of the Minnesota Vikings, is in the lineup on this series. And here's Nelson getting the call. Trying to get around the corner, but the Packers did a great job of stringing it out. And Estes Hood moving up from the secondary. Tampa Bay has got a field goal on Dallas in the first period to make it 3-0. You know, Dallas beat them in the playoffs last year 38-0. Loss of 4 on the play. It'll be 2nd down and 14.
Look at New Orleans.
Yeah, the Saints ahead of Kansas City in the first period. Maybe a lot of surprises on this first day of the renewed season. 2nd down, 14. Vikings with the football at their 16-yard line as Tommy Kramer calls the signals. Again, the little man who is not known for his inside running ability, Darren Nelson, who was the first running back selected in the draft ahead of Marcus Allen and ahead of a lot of people. Picked up about what he lost in the previous play. This telecast is presented by authority of the NFL. It's intended for the private use of our audience, and any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the Green Bay Packers and the National Football League is prohibited.
The Packers brought in an extra defensive lineman here. They're anticipating pass. They might put on a big rush here.
3rd and 10 for the Minnesota Vikings. Let's see if they blitz. They look like they're going to. Nope. Regulation rush. Kramer got good pressure, and the pass incomplete at the 33-yard line. Out to the normally assured hands of Ahmad Rashad. Well, he doesn't drop him like that, does he, Joe?
Not normally. You can expect him to haul one of those in. Again, I would say that these players just are a little bit rusty from that long layoff.
Greg Coleman Back to do the punting, and Epps, number 85, is deep for the Green Bay Packers. He is a 4.3 sprinter, a world-class sprinter, only a 12th round draft choice out of TCU, but he will not have a shot at returning this one far. Bunt was hung up there high beautifully. Green Bay will take over at the 38-yard line after the 41-yard kick. No score with 4.5 minutes remaining in the opening period. Well, we thought for a while it was going to have to be Thanksgiving without football in Detroit. That's not going to happen. And the Lions, who trail the Chicago Bears in the opening period today, will be at home Thursday to take on the New York Giants. It starts a big weekend on CBS Sports. NFL Today with Brent Phillips and Jimmy the Greek, and then the Giants and the Lions on Thanksgiving Day right here on CBS Sports. No score here at County Stadium in Milwaukee. The Packers have the football, a 1st and 10 at their own 38-yard line. Both teams just kind of sparring a little bit. Neither has had a serious scoring threat in the opening period so far. Dickey at the throttle of the Green Bay Packers, hands off to Eddie Lee Ivory, and Ivory is hit hard at the line of scrimmage. Scott Studwell, number 55, the leading tackler on the year, and a young man who broke Dick Butkus school record for tackles in his collegiate day at Illinois, making the stop.
I think the sparring is kind of over now, Frank. I think you're going to see both ball clubs trying to open it up a little bit and try to go for the score.
2nd and 9. You know, we were talking so much yesterday with the players and coaches, and a lot of them kept talking that the offensive line might make the difference. We might talk about that a little bit after this play here. 2nd and 9. Dickey, excellent protection, looking for Jefferson. And fine defense that time over on the far side by John Turner, number 27. Now, why should the offensive line be the big difference, Joe?
Because they work as a group, Frank. The guy, no single guy is more important than the guy next to them, and everything that they do is coordinated with the guy that's next to them. And so, therefore, it's very, very difficult to try to get that kind of work outside of team practice.
And the defense obviously can freelance a little bit more, so they may have an advantage there. Now, you talk about receivers and cornerbacks, and a lot of people will tell you, well, the receivers will have the advantage because they've had a chance to work with their quarterbacks. The defensive backs haven't had that opportunity to do that much backpedaling, at least under pressure. 3rd down and 9. Dickey just did get it away, and the ball was tipped away as he tried to set up the screen pass. Randy Holloway, number 75. The Vikings broke through, and again Green Bay will be in a punting situation. The Packers this afternoon seeking their 5th victory in their last 6 meetings with the Vikings. It's been kind of a strange series. You know, back in the early 60s when the Packers were the team, they had a terrible time with Minnesota. Then the Vikings became a very dominant team, and they had a terrible time with Green Bay. Stackowitz to do the punting. 10 men at the line of scrimmage for the Vikings, but they peel back quickly. Bad punt. As he sliced that one, got a fairly decent hop out of it, and it will roll dead at the 22-yard line. No score at Milwaukee County Stadium. The Packers and the Vikings, 3:34 left in the opening period.
My American friends introduced me to my favorite beer, light beer from Miller. Now I'm introducing them to my favorite food. With nachos, the best thing about light is it tastes great.
Not bad.
With enchiladas, the best thing is it's got a 1/3 less calories than the regular beer. With burritos, the best thing is it's less filling.
Carlos, what's this?
And with jalapeno peppers, the best thing about light is it's cold.
Light beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer, and less.
Those are two of college football's greatest rivalries, Oklahoma and Nebraska, and that game, of course, will determine the Big 8 champion and the host of the Orange Bowl, and Notre Dame USC, with Notre Dame trying to win at the Coliseum for the first time since 1966. You'll see it all upcoming later this week on CBS. 1st and 10, Vikings with the football at their 22-yard line. Again, neither team has had a serious scoring threat so far. Blitz is on. Kramer gets the pass away to Rashad at the 30-yard line, and Ahmad picks up the 1st down before being run out of bounds at the 35. Well, he did a good job of picking up the blitz. They were coming, Joe.
Well, this is the first pass that Minnesota has thrown on first down, and you see the blitz there by Green Bay, number 52, Cumbie coming in. Rashad catches the ball there and does a good job running, picks up a good block from one of his receivers on the outside.
First and 10 at the 33. Both quarterbacks concerned about that blitz and the preparation and their ability to pick it up after such a long layoff. Vikings have 3 first downs now to 1 for Green Bay. Nelson can't get away from Cumbie. George Cumbie, number 52, number 1 draft choice, who underwent minor knee surgery during the strike, but is back in action wearing a brace. And Cumbie really rode through there, the former OU star, dropping Nelson with a loss in the play. 4 yards, 2nd and 14.
It was a very fine defensive play. Number 53, Mike Douglas, shot across, caused penetration and forced Darren Nelson to go wide, which enabled Cumbie to make the tackle.
2nd down, 14. This time the Vikings deployed both of their receivers wide to the left side, sent Sammy White in motion. He held up for a moment, and Kramer told him to go on. They worked the reverse, the old Statue of Liberty, to Nelson. And he did not get back to the line of scrimmage. Johnny Gray wasn't buying that at all, number 24. Bud Grant looking on.
It appeared that we might have had a little mix-up there in that motion. Coach Grant was telling us yesterday that they weren't going to slow down at all on the type of offense that they were going to run. Here's an example that it might have hurt them.
Vikings are now looking at a 3rd down and 15 coming up from their 28-yard line. The Packer Brain Trust, their plays are called this year by, offensively by Bob Schnelker, who's their new offensive coordinator.
Let's look for that stunt up front of the 4-man line is in.
Kramer back to throw. They did have a stunt working that time. And the pass downfield a little bit too long, as it was intended for the tight end, Joe Sensor, number 81. Sensor caught 11 passes against the Packers last year in the 2nd game. These two teams split their series, with Minnesota winning here at Milwaukee and the Packers winning in Minnesota. Coleman to do the punting. 4th and 14. Epps, the speedster, is back deep. High punt and short. Takes a Viking hop and will roll to the 30-yard line. So the Packers will take over 1st and 10 at their own 30-yard line. Still no score. 42-yard punt. We've got a minute and a half left in the opening period. Well, the LA Rams wasting no time getting it in gear as they're 2 touchdowns up on Atlanta. That game being played in Atlanta. No score in our game. Packers with a 1st and 10 at their 30-yard line. John Jefferson wide to the left side. James Lofton is split to the right. Dickey handing up the middle. We've got a new set of running backs in there right now. Right now, let's go to Brent Musburger in New York for an NFL Today update.
Frank, you said the Rams were in gear, and were you ever right on that? They have the best timing so far around the league. This is a 51-yard touchdown. Ron Battle comes free. Breakdown in the secondary by the Falcons. Back to Frank.
All right, Brett, it is 2nd and 9. Packers with the football at their 32-yard line as Dickey sends Jefferson in motion. Handoff Eddie Lee Ivory trying to go around the right side and gets to the 34 for a pickup of no more than 3 in the play. Ivory, the leading rusher by 1 yard in the NFC over John Riggins coming into this game. And, of course, he's had his injury problems before. Ivory twice sidelined with knee operations, which occurred after injuries on the opening day of the season. But he is off to a great start this year. You notice much in the substitution pattern so far, Joe?
Well, only substitutions been going on is in 3rd and long, in passing situation. They bring in take out a linebacker and bring in a defensive lineman, bring in an extra back, defensive back.
3rd down, 6. Packers at their 34-yard line. Dickey on the handoff, and a nice hole for the rookie, Joe Rogers. Over the right side, he's up to the 40, to the 45, and he's got a 1st down. He is quick. Third-round draft choice out of Utah as the quarter comes to an end.
Well, the Packers created a situation here when they showed passing. They crossed him up and run a quick trap play and sprung Harold, number 36, the rookie.
We'll be back at Milwaukee County Stadium with the second quarter of action in just a moment.
You know, there's nothing like getting together for a nice, friendly game of cards. Right. Jim brings the cards. Mickey brings the doll.
Nice doll.
And I bring the beer. Light beer from Miller. Light tastes great. It's got a third less calories than the regular beer. And it's less filling. And you don't want to get filled up when you're dealing with these guys who... Okay, Numa, cut the cards. Oh, no.
Light beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer, and less.
Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by Light Beer from Miller. Everything you've always wanted in a beer and less. And by Ford Motor Company, where quality is more than priority. Quality is job one.
And welcome back to County Stadium in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Frank Lieber along with Joe Green. Green Bay Packers have the football. They have a 1st and 10 at their own 46. There is no score in this game so far. And for those of you concerned about injuries, we see nothing in terms of any type of injury so far. Dickey with the handoff to Ivory, and Ivory being pursued was caught at the line of scrimmage, picked up almost 5 yards on the play. Good run by the former Georgia Tech All-American. Eddie Lee Ivory still holds the NCAA record for most yards gained in a college game. 356 in his senior year against the Air Force Academy. And of course, he's had a good outing against the Vikings as well with 145 yards. That's his career high. So look at the Green Bay Packer bench on 2nd down 6. Dickey on the delay going to Ivory. That's a 1st down for Green Bay at the 44-yard line of the Minnesota Vikings. The Packers' deepest penetration so far. Kurt Knopf, number 25, making the stop. Well, we talked to Bart Starr yesterday, Joe. He told us that they were feeding, or it was Don Gentile, wasn't it, the trainer of the Packers, who told us that they were feeding them calcium, potassium this week, trying to beef them up a little bit to prevent those pulls.
Yes, sir. That's something that we, as athletes, took in the past when I was playing. It helped the body retain fluids, thus preventing pulls.
Packer fans starting their chant of go, go, go. 1st and 10 from the Minnesota 44. Dickey ripped down beyond the 50-yard line by Doug Martin, number 79, number 1 draft choice for the Vikings in 1980. And just now beginning to blossom into the player the Vikings thought he would be all along. Pretty good rush here, Joe.
You're coming from the lower right hand of our screen. You're going to see number 79, Martin, just break through 2 tacklers. Here and just sacks the quarterback, Dickey. Doug Martin, a tremendous rush. But this is the problem that Bart Starr said that they were worried about. Their offensive line.
2nd down, 18 for the Packers, who are back in their end of the field at the 48-yard line. Kaufman, the tight end, in motion. Dickey looking downfield, sideline throw. Kaufman wide open at the 40, down to the 35, and very close to the 1st down marker. Paul Kaufman, one of the more underrated tight ends in professional football, a superb pass receiver, and was he open?
Kaufman was wide open. Somebody had to blow a coverage here. We see Dickey had a lot of time to throw the ball. He just laid it out there, and no one was within 10 yards of Paul Kaufman. Kaufman does a good job of running out here and avoiding the tackle here.
Tommy Hanna, number 45, finally makes the stop. It is just short of a 1st down. 3rd down, less than a yard needed for the 1st down for the Packers at the Minnesota 34-yard line. Ellis and Ivory, the setbacks. It goes to Ivory. We get a flag. He picked up almost 5, but let's see what the penalty will be. It's amazing, Joe, but that's only the 2nd flag that we've seen throw. The other was for delay a game, and this one's going to go against Minnesota.
I think that is quite unusual for this type of game to not have as many penalties as we've had.
Packers have prided themselves in the fact that they've been working out together for most of the strike. Matt Haggerty, the referee.
Offside. Defense. First down.
Green Bay with the first down at the 29-yard line. Oh, Lynn Dickey told us yesterday, in the last 3 weeks, outside of playing catch, he really hasn't thrown to receivers that much with the weather and all.
He said he was trying to preserve his arm.
Yeah. A lot of theory about what it will take to make the playoffs, and some people say just over 500 should get you in, maybe 5 and 4. Another flag. Dickey going long for Lofton. Lofton is interfered with down to the 5-yard line by John Turner, but let's see what the penalty was back at the line of scrimmage. So after having only one flag the entire game, we get 2 flags dropped for 2 different violations.
Now, this is what you're supposed to do when you're beat. When you know you're going to give up a touchdown, you got to hold it.
Defense, pass interference, first down.
Both penalties against the Vikings. One was offside. The other was pass interference. Obviously, they'll take the greater one, which is the pass interference call, which will give the Packers a first down at the Viking 8.
Defense, number 54, offside. Defensive pass interference, number 24. They'll accept the defensive pass interference. First down.
Isn't that what I said, Joe?
They had flags all over the place there.
Bud Grant. Hey, the old stone face showed us a little something yesterday in our conversation with him. We'll tell you about that in a minute. As the Packers bring it up to the line of scrimmage. First and goal to go from the 8-yard line. Ivory in motion. Ellis, 5, down to the 3 to the 2-yard line. It'll be second and goal. We asked Bud Grant yesterday what he did during the strike that he didn't normally do, and he said, with a little glisten in his eye, he got to see his son play college football for the first time. His son Bruce plays for the University of Minnesota Duluth, is the second-ranked passer in Division II, and he got a chance to see him play several games, and he seemed very moved by it all.
So I can understand that, too. I had an opportunity to watch my son play this year, and I was moved by that.
Something very special. Second and goal. Ivory did not get in, took it to the 1-yard line. So it'll be third and goal from this point.
It's a little more difficult to go across the formation in a short yardage situation like they just did than it was on the previous play when they had just a little dive.
All right, third and 1. Bart Starr has made the call through his offensive coordinator, Bob Schnelker.
Jim Jensen has come in, and he's a real strong blocker, so let's see what he's going to do here.
Good protection. The pass wasn't there. The tight end, Paul Kaufman, is complaining that he was tackled on the goal line. He was flattened as the ball whistled by him.
He was flattened by the official.
Kaufman couldn't believe it.
You can't get pass interference on the official.
That'll set up fourth down, and the Packer fans want him to go for it, and no sign of the field goal unit yet.
You're going to see Paul Kaufman coming from our right, and he's going to come right into the official right there.
He probably doesn't know who hit him, right? He just thought somebody hit him and said it ought to be pass interference. So it is fourth down, and the Packers have set their field goal unit on. And Jan Stenerud, who set an NFL record last year with 22 out of 24, will do the honors. He's 2 out of 3 in the first 2 games. That's like an extra point, and it's good.
And it got tipped.
18-yard field goal by Stenerud. And the Packers lead it 3-0. The field goal by Stenerud, Joe, actually was tipped by Matt Blair coming up the middle.
Yes, Blair was telling us last night how high he gets up to try to block these kicks here. It's a timing play, he told us, and he almost got that one. He tipped it.
He has blocked a total of 20 kicks in his career, 18 in regular season and 2 in playoffs. And he just tries to get the guys in front of him to penetrate and then jumps as high as he can, and he's had great success. However, that one went through the uprights despite the tip. Stenerud kicking it deep to Eddie Payton. Fields it 2 yards deep, and he'll run it out. 10-15, and level at the 15-yard line. There was a fumble on the play. Packers are bouncing around, but apparently the Vikings retained possession. Pretty good hit there. I'll tell you, it didn't look like they had any time off that particular hit.
And they're bringing some excitement to this game. This is the first kind of uplifting feeling that we've seen from these players, and it's good.
Crowd has been sitting on his hands for the first part of the first quarter, got into it toward the end of the first quarter, and now they're getting with it. Some people thought perhaps they would boo the teams as they come out today. We didn't see any sign of that at all.
None whatsoever. I think they're just as happy as we are to have the football games back.
Packers really got to Kramer the last time around. That was in Bloomington, where he had 5 picked off, but he threw 55 that day. Here's Kramer unloading over the middle, intended for Sensor, the tight end. Just a little bit long for him. Not a bad throw ball at all. Sensor caught 10 passes last year against the Green Bay Packers. Pro Bowler at the age of 26.
I think we're seeing our first substitution here that Coach Bartsaw said he was going to do. He's changed his entire defensive front 3 with that second team in there.
Now he's got Byron Braggs in there. He's got Richard Turner and Casey Merrill, the new 3-down lineman for the Green Bay Packers. Tommy Kramer is now 2 out of 5 for 15 yards. It is 2nd and 10. Minnesota Vikings at their 15-yard line. Sensor in motion, quick pitch outside. Little running room out there for Ted Brown. Took it across the 20 out to the 23. Pickup of 7 yards on the play. Other scores around the NFL. The Jets have jumped on Baltimore by a score of 10-0. Cincinnati a field goal ahead of Philadelphia in the first period of that game. Keep in mind, the big thing now is not the division races anymore. It's the conference races. So you got to win to stay alive in the conference. And the teams that are 2-0 have got a big jump on everybody. And those 0-2 can have a tough time in a 9-game season getting into the playoffs.
I'll tell you, an 0-2 team, if they lose today, can almost write it off.
Timeout being called by the Minnesota Vikings. And Detroit is playing Chicago today. The Bears beat Detroit in the season opener. If they lose again today, they'll become the first team in NFL history to lose a season opener twice in the same season to the same team. Well, big question is going to be how Carolina's going to be without James Worthy this year. That's going to be interesting.
Tremendous basketball player. Had an opportunity to see him the other night in Dallas.
Well, they've got a lot of people coming back in Missouri, of course, one of the top teams in the Big 8. And you'll see it upcoming this weekend on CBS as NCAA basketball returns. NFL football back today. 3rd down and a yard needed for the Minnesota Vikings for the first down. They have the ball at the 23-yard line. Wholesale substitutions, as you saw, came into the game just prior to the resumption of play. Kramer handing off to Brown, trying to get outside. And doing a great job on the play was Johnny Gray, coming up in the strong safety position, number 24. So again, the Vikings are going to be punting.
Well, the Packers ended the first season with the defense setting the tone, and it looks as if the defense is setting the tone again now.
Philip Epps, number 85, dropping back, anticipating the punt from Greg Coleman. Loss of 4 yards on that last play. Coleman's already kicked it 3 times. Temperature in the upper 40s. Players really got a break. It's certainly not too hot here, and it's definitely not too cold for what it could be. Milwaukee this time of year. Epps did a little juggling act, but managed to hang on to it, making the fair catch at the Green Bay 49-yard line. So the Packers come up with excellent field position following the punt.
Maybe I wasn't the greatest player of all time, but fans, they forgive and forget. When I go in here, they'll be buying me my favorite beer, light beer from Miller.
You, Bob Uecker?
Yeah, how you doing? These fans, I love them. They know us ex-big leaguers drink light because it's less filling and it tastes great. Well, can't keep the gang waiting. The fans are always joking.
Light beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer, and less.
Wow, they're having a good time in there.
Welcome back to County Stadium in Milwaukee. A short 31-yard punt by Greg Coleman of the Vikings puts the Packers in shape with a first down at their own 49. Jets putting it on Baltimore in the second period, 17-0. Well, the Packers are off to their best first quarter, I should say first half start of the year. They had all kinds of problems against Los Angeles and the Giants. Lynn Dickey on the rollout. Sets up the screen. He's got blockers in front. It's the Kaufman, the tight end, to the 40, to the 30, Kaufman to the 20, and run out of bounds somewhere around the 15-yard line. Boy, you could see that coming, Joe. You were jumping up and down.
A beautifully executed play. Here they were getting a strong rush all day from that right end, Mulaney, and he set him up on this tight end screen. And he got a wad of blockers at the McLaren, number 54, Theodis Harris, number 69. Missed the man, but he still got a lot of yardage out of that. Great play.
Studwell finally knocked him out of bounds, and they say went out at the 23. 29 yards on the tight end screen to Paul Kaufman. And the Packers have a 1st and 10 at the Minnesota 23. Kaufman in motion. Ellis, the fullback, inside the 20 to about the 19-yard line. A pickup of 4 on that play. You recall in the first game against Los Angeles, the Packers were down 23-0, came back and won it 35-23. They were down 23-0 at the half. Bart Starr called it the greatest comeback in Packer history. And against the Giants in the Monday night game, they were down 19-7 in the third quarter and came back.
You know what they're saying around the Packer team now is that last year they didn't know they could win. This year they know they can win.
Well, they had that great finish last year. They won 6 of their last 8 games, almost got into the playoffs. Jefferson in motion. Ivory crashing up the middle to about the 17-yard line. Now, you were saying before the game, these guys are really going to be sore tomorrow morning. Huh?
No question about it.
I mean, you're normally sore, but you're really going to be sore.
You're really going to be sore. An old guy like me probably couldn't come in after halftime.
How about the teams that got to play Thursday? That going to be fun?
I don't know if they're going to show up.
Pickup of 6, 7 yards on the play. It'll be 3rd down. Let's see. Well, the down marker says 3rd. Yeah, there it is. 3rd down and 4. That's what we've got. Jefferson to the left side. Epps is off to the right. Ellis trying to pick up the first down. I don't believe he got it. He had to get to about the 13-yard line. Looks like he reached the 14. And it'll bring up a 4th and about a yard. And again, they're going to bring in the field goal unit.
The Packers were trying to sneak another back through there. Then he had a passing formation. They had 3 wideouts, and they were trying to sneak that back through there real quick, hoping that Minnesota would rush.
Ray Stakowicz, the punter, is the field goal holder for Jan Stenerud. This will be a 32-yard effort to go with his 18-yarder earlier. Blair couldn't get a hand on it this time, and it'll rifle between the uprights. So 2 field goals by Jan Stenerud have accounted for all the scoring so far as Green Bay leads Minnesota 6-0 midway in the second period. And what would Thanksgiving be like without football from Detroit? We'll have it for you on CBS. Payton is deep. Stenerud with the advance. Kick a little bit short. Payton moving up on it at the 5. 15, 20, looking for an opening. Squeezes through beyond the 25 and is finally dropped close to the 30-yard line. Pretty good run back by Eddie Payton. Vikings haven't shown much offensively so far. Packers with a lot of substituting by Bart Starr look fairly fresh.
They look extremely sharp. I've been watching Ivory run, and he looks as if he's been playing all the time. He's extremely sharp with his cuts.
Kramer at this point 2 out of 5 for 15 yards. Brown is the leading rusher for Minnesota with 5 carries for 16. Packers haven't been ahead in the first half of a game this year. This is the first time. Kramer with a sideline throw to Sammy White. Goes out of bounds right about at the first down marker. Pursued at that point by Mike McCoy, number 29. Good pattern by White.
This is just a quick little out to Sammy White. Here you're going to see get a little bit pressure from the right side, number 59, Anderson. But Sammy just looks it in. First down.
Sammy White caught passes for 1,001 yards last year. Like the Vikings had 2,000-yard receivers, and neither was named Ahmad Rashad. The other, the tight end, Joe Spencer. First down. Vikings at their 42-yard line. Nice fake by Kramer, and again a sideline throw, this time to Rashad, and that'll be good for another dozen. And a first down in Green Bay's end of the field at the 48 as he took a pretty good pop.
Hung on to the football. He looked it in that time. They're starting to pick up the tempo a little bit. They're trying to get with it.
Yeah, they're going with that sideline pattern. Good for 24 yards the last two plays, and a first down at the 48-yard line of the Green Bay Packers. Vikings trailing by a score of 6-0. They get the Bears next at the Metrodome. It'll be in Minneapolis next Sunday. Green Bay goes back to New York for the second time this year to face the Jets next Sunday afternoon. Kramer, little rollout right, pumps it once, sees Rashad open. He's at the 40, he's at the 30, and out of bounds at the 25-yard line. Ahmad thought, heck, I'm 32, 33 years old. Why should I take the punishment, right? And definitely stepped out of bounds at the right point.
You hear the Vikings are still using a lot of that formations that they were using before the strike. The motion, very intricate offensive patterns. Number 28, Ahmad Rashad, just goes down 5 yards and let everyone run away from him, and he's wide open.
You saw that's all he's going to get, so out of bounds he goes. And a first down for the Vikings at the 27-yard line of the Green Bay Packers. Minnesota's deepest penetration so far. Brown got away from a couple of tacklers and scored it out for 2 or 3 yards before Johnny Gray and Mike Butler made the stop for the Green Bay Packers. The officials will mark it at the 18-yard line. Clock shows 6 minutes and 40 seconds remaining in the first half.
What the Vikings try to do with these multiple formations and all this motion is to try to spread the defense out. And that time they did. They spread them out pretty good, and there was some confusion there, and they all lost Ahmad Rashad.
Minnesota with a lot of experience, 10 starters with more than 5 years. 2nd and 7. Kramer with the sideline throw, hitting Rashad, but they say he came down out of bounds, incomplete. So they'll bring it back and call it 3rd and 7 from the 23-yard line.
Kramer couldn't have thrown that pass in the first quarter. He's starting to warm up a little bit, gaining more and more confidence in his throwing ability.
Big play coming up for the Vikings in this drive. 3rd down, a long 6 needed for the first down. From the Packer 23, Packer defense digging in. Kramer, good protection over the middle. White at the 5, and Sammy White forward to the 3. 1st and goal. Johnny Gray makes the stop, but the Vikings in position to take the lead in this game.
This is one of the effects of the playoff. Of the layoff. They were saying that the defensive backs wouldn't be able to keep up with the wideouts. Right here, somebody made a mistake. Sammy White wide open down the middle.
Officials mark it at the 4-yard line. It will be 1st and goal from that point. 19-yard pickup on the play. Green Bay leading 6-0. Ricky Young teamed in that backfield now with Ted Brown. Young stopped at the line of scrimmage and pushed back. Solid defensive work by the Packers. Randy Scott, number 55, who's filling in for Rich Wingo as Wingo gets a break. That is Bob Holloway, one of the Viking assistant coaches. Holloway, former head coach with the St. Louis Cardinals. Kramer wants a timeout to discuss the strategy with a 2nd and 4 coming up. in Green Bay's end of the field. Timeout with 4:52 left to play in the first half. Green Bay leads it 6-0. A little confusion there by the Vikings that caused them to take their second timeout, Joe.
Yes, they wouldn't normally take a timeout during this time in the game. They just wanted to make sure that they had the right play call against the personnel that the Packers had brought in.
Second down, goal to go from the 4-yard line. This is an unusual formation. One running back, 3 receivers wide to the right side. Kramer's going to run it in. Boy, you could see that from up here. Everybody out covering receivers, and Kramer immediately spotted that he had about a 10-yard path at the goal line, and he could have just about crawled there on his hands and knees.
That's something that the defense really fears there is being outmanned, and they were at that time. They had 3 wideouts to the right. Here, no one had containment on Kramer. He ran right in for the touchdown, unmolested.
Pretty good slide, too.
Safe. That was third base, too.
That was that third base here at County Stadium, where, of course, they played a portion of the World Series. Danmeyer with the extra point try to give the Vikings the lead. And Minnesota, just like that, has jumped out in front of this game. So it's been dominated in the first half by the Green Bay Packers, and suddenly the Packers look up and the Vikings have the lead as they really found their running game on that drive. Here's the scramble for the touchdown.
You see the linebacker takes off with Sensor, number 81. He breaks containment right here, and there's no one to control the quarterback. The defensive end should have been out there. He took a slant inside. Kramer had a clear path.
Green Bay Packer defense last year led the National Football League in takeaways. They had 30 interceptions, 20 fumble recoveries. Here's another point. You know, these teams haven't played, and as long as they've had, we haven't had a single turnover. We haven't had a fumble to speak of, and we haven't had a pass interception.
The quality of these football players, I love them.
Thanksgiving Day on CBS starts a big weekend, all beginning with the NFL today with Brett Phyllis and the Greek, followed by the Giants and the Lions from the Pontiac Silverdome. So be with us as the NFL is back, and we've got them on Thanksgiving Day. There's the book of the Vikings scoring drive. Very impressive. 70 yards in 8 plays as they finally put the short passing game together.
You know, Frank, doing a normal week's work, it's extremely difficult to get prepared for an offensive team like the Vikings. They show you so many different looks, so many formations, so much motion.
Tommy Kramer, who scored the Vikings' first touchdown of the newly restarted season. Harlan Huckleby is deep for the Green Bay Packers. Danmeyer, the last of the straightaway kickers. He and Mosley of Washington. Kicking to Huckleby, and the former Michigan Stars corralled at the 23-yard line. Good coverage by Fred McNeil and Keith Nord of the Minnesota Vikings. Lions are out in front of Chicago, 14-3. I think the Bears are going to lose 2 openers to the same team in the same season, the way that thing's going. Mike Ditka's probably pulling his hair out.
That baseball.
That looks like it, doesn't it? It's not the Reds and the Phillies, however, friends. 4 minutes, 38 seconds left to play, first half. Minnesota leading the Green Bay Packers 7-6. Tell you, team goes 3-0. Would really have a jump on getting into the playoffs. You'd have to play pretty below 500 the rest of the year. And the Packers in that position. Minnesota at 1-1. Dickey again, the screen set up, this time over the middle to Ellis, and the fullback drives forward across the 30 out to the 32-yard line. Scott Studwell, number 55, and Matt Blair, number 59 on the stop. They liking those screens, Joe.
Yes, they're anticipating blitz right here, and they did get it, which allowed number 31 Ellis to get underneath and try to get up some very valuable yards. Here you see Matt Blair holding on for life. He finally let him go. Good running, Jerry Ellis.
Second down and 2. Packers at their 32. Nice hole up the middle. Jensen fumbled the football, but it looked like Green Bay got it back. Jim Jensen, big running back from Iowa, who is a former number 2 draft choice of the Dallas Cowboys. Really popped through.
Right up the middle, a quick hitter. This is the easiest type of play to work. Number 33, no one in sight here. He does a good job. Jensen running over number 45, Hannon.
Jensen told us an interesting story yesterday. He said he had given up. He figured the season was over, and he decided to drive home from Green Bay, got as far as Davenport, Iowa, heard that the strike had ended, turned around, went back to Green Bay, got in at 4 o'clock in the morning on the day of the first practice. So he said he was a little weary. First and 10 from the 41. Dickey almost had the ball ripped out of his hands by Matt Blair. Hung onto it, but was dropped back at the 38.
First down blitz. Matt Blair was the leading sacker last year on this Viking ball club.
That's the third time that Lynn Dickey has been sacked this afternoon. Watch the rush here.
Coming from the right of our screen, on the left, on the right here, you'll see Matt Blair just runs over the running back there. It's no contest. That was a mismatch.
So the Vikings 3 sacks. The Packers have none. It is second down 14. Packers at their 38. Dickey straight drop back, and again he is dropped behind the line of scrimmage. Pressure this time from the right side from Mark Mullaney, number 77, and the Packer fans raining a few boos down in the direction of the offensive line.
Dickey told us yesterday in a meeting that he was kind of concerned about number 77, Mark Mullaney. He said that if he was getting too many problems from him, he'd put it back over there to try to slow him down some.
He said Mullaney is a 110% guy. He'll fight and scrub and scratch and do everything he can to get to you. And those are the type of guys that really worry him a lot because they never give up. Compared him to Jerry Shirk, the old Cleveland Brown defensive lineman. On third and long, Dickey drills it over the middle. Ivory at the 40, 45, 50. Ivory to the 40, 35, 30. Eddie Lee Ivory at the 10-yard line simply ran out of gas. Willie Teal, number 37, finally caught him. Fans on their feet here at Milwaukee County Stadium.
We're going to see Ellis. We're going to see Ivory come across the middle underneath the linebackers here on a little clear out here. He catches the ball in front of the linebacker, and he outruns Matt Blair here. And you're going to see some missed tackles. Then he's going to turn on the speed. Right there, some missed tackles. Then he's going to turn on the speed. And as Frank said, he just flat run out of gas.
It's like he's going in slow motion right there, and finally Teal catches him and pins him. Timeout. Back in Milwaukee in just a moment. The preceding message brought to you by the National Football League. There's Eddie Lee Ivory, and he got a great block along the way from Ellis right there, number 31, who leveled 2 Viking defenders. 1 reception today for Eddie Lee Ivory for 62 yards. It's not a bad average. First down, Packers at the 9, make it the 8-yard line to the Vikings with a minute 53 left to play in the first half. That last time out was for the 2-minute warning. Jefferson in motion. Rogers, the hard-running rookie from Utah, carries it to the 5-yard line. Del Rogers, and Bart Starr wants a timeout. Starr very high on Rogers. Their second-round pick was Terry Tausch from Texas, and of course the number 1 pick was Ron Hallstrom, who was an offensive lineman who did see some action today from Iowa. Coming up at halftime, Brett Nerve with scores and with highlights. And Legends of the Game will feature the guy, I guess, Joe, who started the safety place. Don't they credit Larry Wilson with that?
I think they do. I remember years ago when I first started watching.
Players are back, so is the pack, and so are the fans. You know, this was kind of a late arriving crowd, but as I look around now, I don't see many empty seats. Do you?
None at all.
Even a few deer hunters in attendance. Yesterday, the start of deer hunting season lasted 9 days, and Bud Grant told us that for the first time in 16 years since he'd been coaching up in Canada, he was going to make deer hunting season in Wisconsin until, of course, the strike ended, and that changed his plans. That's Bob Schnelker, the offensive coordinator, talking to Lynn Dickey, and he is a new man, a new kid on the block here as far as the Packers are concerned. He was the offensive coordinator at Detroit last year with Monty Clark, but Dickey thinks the world of him.
Yes, he told us that You know, he has a great deal of confidence in the plays that the new offensive coordinator Snelker sends in. And one particular play he was telling us about in the Ram game that he called the play and had the wrong formation, and then he called an audible on it, and the play ended up in a touchdown. And
yeah, as he set up the offense, Snelker said no, 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 and they got the touchdown, and he was jumping up and down. Second and goal to go. Packers from the 5-yard line of the Minnesota Vikings. Green Bay trailing 7-6.
Over the middle here.
Flags all over the place. Caught for a touchdown by Eddie Lee Ivory on the rebound as it bounded off Ellis, but let's see what the penalty was. Markers thrown at the line of scrimmage.
Offside, number 72, defense.
Touchdown it is for the Green Bay Packers on the 5-yard pass from Lynn Dickey to Eddie Lee Ivory by way of Gary Ellis.
Dickey had a play called to his tight end over the middle here, and he had to pump fake because he was covered. And here the ball got tipped by Ellis, and Eddie Lee Ivory came across and caught the ricochet pass.
Stenerud on to try the extra point with 1:37 left to play in the first half. Stakowicz puts it down. The kick is good. And the Green Bay Packers have recaptured the lead with an impressive drive highlighted by the 62-yard pass from Lynn Dickey to Eddie Lee Ivory. And then, of course, that pass for the touchdown. So the Packers in command once again with 1:37. And I think this game has built up to a mid-season level of steam after a very slow start, Joe.
I think it's a very credible ball game here. You know, the first couple of series, you know, they were filling one another out, and now they're going out doing the things that they were doing before the walkout.
It's Jim Jensen, number 33, the running back from Iowa. Started his career with the Cowboys as a number 2 draft pick, went to Denver, eventually wound up with the Green Bay Packers. Filled in nicely last year when the Packers were hit by some injury problems. Green Bay with a great finish last year, and they brought that momentum into this season. And the Vikings had a terrible time at the end of last year, and of course missed the playoffs. Minnesota winning the division in 1978 and 80. Tampa Bay winning it in 1979 and 81. The Vikings lost 6 of their last 8 games, including their last 5 last season. Here's Stenerud with the advance. High and short. Hannon stopped at the 18-yard line.
That was just great coverage there. Anytime that you can get the return team inside the 20, that is tremendous coverage.
Bill Whitaker making the stop. It was Keith Nord, number 49, who fielded the short kickoff. And there's the book on the Green Bay scoring drive. Vikings take over, 1st and 10 at their 19, with 1:33 left to play in the first half.
Now we got what they call him, a 2-minute Tommy.
2-minute Tommy Kramer. You know, one of the big problems with Kramer has been his inconsistency. He can be absolutely brilliant at times, and other times he can be completely ineffective. And that's what they've been trying to do, is to get him consistent. And they do call all the plays for him from the bench, unlike the Francis Tarkenton days where Tarkenton called his own plays. Kramer with a sideline throw. Ahmad Rashad is open and steps out of bounds at the 38-yard line for a pickup of 19 yards on the play.
And he was looking at Ahmad Rashad all the way on this play. There was a double slot there. Ahmad does a little out pattern here, goes over there and just waits. This is a timing play. As I said, the quarterback Kramer is gaining a lot of confidence in his throwing right now.
Keep in mind now the Vikings used 2 timeouts earlier, so they only have 1 timeout left. They have a first down at their own 38-yard line. Tommy Kramer, sideline throw. Terry LeCount pulled it down, but he was out of bounds, so it goes as an incompleted pass. Kramer now 6 out of 10 for 77 yards. And you're looking at a 2nd and 10 situation as the Packers will send in a 5th defensive back, and also Casey Merrill, number 78, one of their best rushers. I'd make it 7 out of 12 for Kramer for 96.
They still have time to get something down the middle, deep down the middle. It appeared that the middle was open a few minutes ago. And let's see what they do on this play.
Second and 10 from the Minnesota 37. Big rush on Kramer. Had to throw that a little earlier than he would have liked to. And Kramer is hot. He claims he was face masked on that last play and is complaining about it, but did not get the call.
Well, Tommy's been known to get a little upset out there.
Big rush by Ezra Johnson, number 90, from the right defensive end for the Green Bay Packers. Let's see if he got face masked. Look close. Oh, yeah.
I think he had a legitimate complaint on that one.
Yeah, you could really see his head whip around.
But you see the referee was behind him. Couldn't see it.
Third and 10 for the Vikings at their own 38-yard line. Packers with 5 defensive backs. Again, big rush by Ezra Johnson, and he just barely got it away. Johnson came blowing through there very hard, along with Terry Jones, the nose tackle. And the Vikings will be punting with 1:14 left to play in the half.
They got a good rush on him then. They really didn't get to him. It looks as though they just surrounded him, and he was throwing out of a well, and he just couldn't find the receiver.
Epps is deep for the Packers. Coleman will punt. Minnesota has beaten Tampa 17-10 and lost to Buffalo 23-22. Packers, as we have mentioned, have beaten the Rams here in Milwaukee and beaten the Giants at the Meadowlands. High kick and a little bit short. Fair catch. Epps was hit by his own teammate. Nobody touched the ball, but one of his own teammates peeling back the block, Bill Whitaker, number 30, I believe, hit Epps.
The ball hit Hannon, number 45, in the back.
The flag.
Disregard the flag. That's the last part of the message there from Pat Haggerty, the referee. So there is no penalty, and the Green Bay Packers will take over at about the 25. Watch it again here.
We're going to see number 45 coming to the pitcher here, and he interferes right here with the opportunity to catch number 49. I'm sorry, but it did hit him in the back. That's Keith Nard.
You saw Whitaker, number 30, hit his own man, Epps, effectively putting him out of the play. 38 yards on the punt. See if the Packers will just run down the clock here and go to the dressing room with a 6-point lead. 1:05. No, sir. They're going to loosen it up. Again, the screen. Jensen, this time the receiver. 25, 30, 35, and a first down at the 36-yard line. Well, nobody said anything to us yesterday about the number of screen passes we've seen, Joe. They're really loosening it up, Green Bay is.
Well, it looked like they said they set us up in the papers there, like they were going to go to the passing game a lot.
Number 2.
Timeout call by the Packers. And you see it again.
Anytime that you get a strong rush, the best thing to do is run a screen pass. And here they have implemented this play several times today, and it's worked every time that they've run it.
Jensen that time breaking loose for the first down at the 36-yard line. The Packers using the first of their 3 timeouts, so they are not content to sit on the 6-point lead here, 13-7. Bart Starr would like to get him close enough to at least attempt another field goal. Bart tickled, quite obviously, that the strike was settled. And he's very confident that this Green Bay Packer team has finally turned it around. I mean, Bart has been here now 8 years, and it's been a long time coming, but he finally feels he's got the personnel to really make a run at it. With a 2-0 start, he's obviously in great shape. That's Jan Stenerud in his 16th year as a place kicker in the National Football League. He'd like to get a shot at another field goal. The 2 he hit today were the 306th and 307th of his career, and there's only one man in pro football history who has kicked more field goals than Jan Stenerud, and that is George Blanda, who is 335. So he could, you figure, catch Blanda certainly maybe by the end of next year. Dickey, 8 out of 14, 171 yards. First and 10 from the 36. Dickey goes over the middle and completes the pass for a first down at the 50-yard line to the little man, Philip Epps, 5'9". 165 pounds, 12th round draft choice from TCU. And the Packers go with the hurry-up offense. 1st and 10 from midfield. Dickey again goes over the middle. Jefferson leaping high, couldn't hold it. Defending against him was Rufus Best, number 21. He was there. The ball was there. Almost like he was leaping unnecessarily. 2nd and 10. Well, they're not throwing the sideline pass as you might expect because they do have a couple timeouts to work with. But you can see they've only got 25 seconds left. They've got to get another 20 yards or so to get close enough for Stenerud to give it a shot. Dickey again goes over the middle, this time to Lofton, who makes his first catch of the day, short of the first down at the 41-yard line. And now the Packers will call time with 18 seconds left on the clock. So you figure that'll give them time for one more pass play before bringing on Stenerud if they get it close enough. 13-7. The Green Bay Packers lead the Minnesota Vikings. All of the scoring has been in the second period. A couple of field goals by Stenerud and Eddie Lee Ivory with a touchdown for Green Bay. And Minnesota answering with the touchdown scramble by Tommy Kramer. And coming up very shortly, Brent Nerve with scores and highlights from our studios in New York. Plus our special feature, Legends of the Game. And this week, featuring one of the greatest of them all, Larry Wilson, the tremendous free safety for the St. Louis Cardinals, who is now executive in the Cardinals front office.
Jan Stenerud is one of the real gentlemen in this game. I first met him in my first Pro Bowl out in L.A. back in 1970.
Now give Stenerud one more field goal. I said 307, 308 is what he has. But Blanda's the all-time leader at 335. Remember the last game you played here in Milwaukee? Anything about it?
My good friend Rocky Blau had a tremendous day rushing the football.
It's back in what, 75, 76? Yeah, Rocky, of course, grew up in Appleton, so he was playing before the home folks. 3rd down and 1 needed for the first down, and a big rush that time on Lynn Dickey. I mean, no one touched Randy Holloway, number 75, and the former #1 pick from the University of Pittsburgh came blowing through there.
And that was an outstanding run.
Clock still running. Let's see what's going to happen here. They're going to let it run down or what? Clock is run out. The first half is over. Lofton, the intended receiver, made a great catch at the 25-yard line, but there is no time left. So no time for the field goal. Now they're going to rule incomplete. One of the officials said that Lofton trapped the ball. And Lofton's hot about that, although there wouldn't have been any time left anyway. That's the end of the first half with the Packers leading Minnesota 13-7.
Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by Toyota, who remind you that it's a good feeling to buckle up for safety. Miller High Life, welcome to Miller Time. And by the U.S. Army, a place to be all you can be.
Frank Lieber along with Joe Green at County Stadium in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Both teams back in the field with the Green Bay Packers leading the Vikings 13-7. And statistically, you'd think Green Bay, Joe, would be out in front by a lot more than just 6 points.
Well, they have an overwhelming advantage down every category. I think that the big stat right here is no turnovers. In a game that is the type of game that this is, you would expect more turnovers.
Of course, one of the big plays in the first half was the catch by Eddie Lee Ivory in the run of 62 yards that set up the Packers touchdown. Here it is in slow motion.
Eddie Lee Ivory gets underneath the defense right over here in the middle. You'll see him beat Blair, number 59. Then he's going to get a good block here on the sideline, right here from John Jefferson. He gets in the way, and then he's off to the races. But he just runs out of steam, probably from the lack of not working out these past 8 weeks.
Another good block there from Gary Ellis. Number 31 takes care of 2 Vikings. But that put the Packers in great shape inside the Viking 10. And a moment later, the touchdown pass from Lindicky, which ricocheted off Ellis. And then into the arms of Ivory for the only Green Bay touchdown.
Right in the center of your screen here, you'll see the ball do a ricochet right off of Gary Ellis and into the arms of Ivory, number 40.
Well, Joe, I have to say I have been impressed by what I've seen. It started off a little slow, but in the second quarter, the hitting seemed to be mid-season type hitting. We've had no turnovers. I could only come to one conclusion: the training camp should only last 4 days next year.
You should tell every coach in the league that. The players would love it.
But there's going to be some awful sore people tomorrow. You know, these guys haven't done any hitting over the last 2 months, and they've been hitting fairly solid. Started off a little slow, but right now it's 13-7. Packers lead it, trying to go 3-0, and you got to figure if a team wins 5 games this year, chances are they're going to earn their way into the playoff. Of course, once they become one of the 8 teams in the conference, then the next task is to get into the top 4, because the top 4 teams in each conference will have the home field advantage for the first round. It'll be a seed situation, much like a tennis tournament. So here come the Minnesota Vikings back out of the field. They don't want to go 1-2, but Grant, who welcomed the Vikings back to work on Wednesday, said it'd be business as usual. He did have double workouts each day and had meetings at night, so in that sense it was a little bit like training camp. And Eddie Payton, number 31, dropping back, anticipating the second half kickoff from Jan Stenerud. Tommy Kramer, the Minnesota quarterback, 7 out of 14 for 96. Lynn Dickey, 11 out of 18 for 194 yards. Good kickoff, coming down a little bit short, fielded by the short man at the 15-yard line for the Minnesota Vikings. And picked up by Harvey, and Harvey runs it into the end zone. Touchdown, Green Bay. Maurice Harvey, the defensive back, gets the touchdown.
You're going to see right here in a big pile here, you're going to see Harvey just take the ball out of the arm of number 36, Howell, and just takes off for the end zone. Anything can happen in a game like this, and it has.
On the first play of the second half, the Packers score on a great defensive play by Harvey Stenerud, on to try the extra point, which would make it 20-7. This one is blocked up the middle. So the extra point try is blocked. Breaking through there looked to be Keith Nord, number 49. Let's look at it again, Joe.
Coming off the left of the corner, you'll see Keith Nord come across and block the punt. Block the field goal.
How about extra point?
Third time you'll get it right.
Third time is right. 19-7, Minnesota. We'll be back in just a moment. Take one more look at it. This is nothing but the old steal the ball trick, isn't it?
That's all he did. Harold right here is going to hit a ward of linemen. There's no place to go. And then you'll see Harvey, number 23, just takes the ball from him. It's like stealing third. Watch him go in for the score. No one's going to stop it.
Easy 6 points for the Green Bay Packers. And Stenerud getting ready to kick off again. Well, the third quarter is just 12 seconds old. And keep in mind, the Packers have been holy terrors in the second half of their first 2 games, outscoring their foes 55-7. Ricky Young fumbles that one, and the same guy, Harrell, comes up with it, and this time hits the deck at the 19-yard line. Guy Prather, number 51, making the tackle. Well, the Packers' defense sparkled last year. As we said, they led the NFL in takeaways, and that was the first take away the ball game, and a big one coming up next on most of these CBS stations. Our doubleheader game, the San Francisco 49ers and the St. Louis Cardinals. That game will not be seen in some areas, including Milwaukee, as under NFL rules, your team is playing at home, you only get one game, and this is it. Tommy Kramer trying to get the Vikings cranked up. Sidearm pass. Brown juggled it for a moment. Finally found the handle and carried it out to the 28-yard line. That's Whitaker, number 30. He's a rookie. He's signaling their number 1. It's only the 3rd game of the year.
Probably talking about today.
I see. Pickup of 9 yards on that play. 2nd and 1 for the Minnesota Vikings. Ted Brown tripped up at the line of scrimmage. Terry Jones, the nose tackle in there, number 63.
Jones led all linemen in tackles last year, and that's pretty difficult playing over the nose. Gets an awful lot of attention in there.
He's an 11th round draft pick in his 5th year out of Alabama, and in his 2nd year as a starter. Of course, the Packers went to the 3-man front full time for the first time last year. Vikings have a 1st and 10 at the 30-yard line. Needed less than a yard there, but barely got it. Kramer looking to the far sideline. Slips on the baseball infield, and again it's Terry Jones, number 63, the nose tackle. You ever think about playing nose tackle if Pittsburgh had gone to a 3-man front while you were there, Joe?
I probably would have retired maybe 3 or 4 years earlier.
And as we pointed out earlier, the baseball infield is normally sodded during football season, but the strike came up. They hadn't gotten around to it, and they thought, well, let's wait and see if we're going to play. And I believe it'd be a little bit too late for grass to grow in this part of the country. That, by the way, was the Packers' first sack of the afternoon. Dickey was sacked 5 times by Minnesota in the first half. Kramer, again, a big rush on him, just drops off the pass. Little dump pass to Brown, and Ted Brown carries it to the 29-yard line. Picked up about 6 yardage they lost on the previous couple of plays. They're looking at a 3rd and 10 right now.
That was an odd-looking play.
It really was.
Screen, but it didn't develop too well.
Like a long handoff. I mean, the 2 guys weren't more than about 4 feet apart. 3rd and 10 for the Minnesota Vikings at their own 29-yard line. Vikings trailing by a score of 19-7. Rashad to the right side, and Sammy White set inside of him. So they go with a 3-wide receiver offense. Terry LeCount is split to the left side. 1 running back, and that's Brown. And Kramer has the pass tipped, incomplete. On-rushing lineman, and looks like like Bart Starr told the Packers, we got to put more pressure on Kramer here in the 2nd half because they've really come out in the 3rd quarter applying a lot of heat to the Minnesota quarterback.
Yeah, Yes, they got a good push there, and it forced, again, Tomlin to throw the ball out of a well there. He couldn't see over those guys. They had a good chance to block it, and they did.
Epps back deep. Rookie from TCU fields it at the 30-yard line, gets away from the first man. Trying to get to that far sideline and is pinned at the 34. Had he reached the sideline, he could have been flying because he can move. Timeout. 11 minutes, 39 seconds left to play in the 3rd period. Green Bay leading 19-7. Well, the Detroit Lions, we have heard, are not happy about the strike settlement. Maybe they're taking it out of the Bears. I don't know, but they could be on their way to 3-0. And if that's the case, it'd be an undefeated team you'd be looking at Thursday afternoon on CBS as the Lions take on the New York Giants in our annual Turkey Day game. Preceded, of course, by the NFL Today. It's the Packers' first offensive play of the 2nd half. They already have 6 points. And Dickey throwing the sideline toss to Lofton at the 40 and out of bounds at the 44. James Lofton, who didn't see much of the ball in the first half, caught just one pass for 9 yards. Second reception of the day.
I think if I had to come back again, I'd come back as a wide receiver. Look here, he gains 9 yards, does a little move right here, doesn't even get touched. Beautiful play and doesn't get touched.
Lofton, many say, is the best athlete in the National Football League. Great track man, tremendous physical specimen. Of course, that big reverse broke that game against the New York Giants. Kramer loosening up on the sideline. Obviously doesn't feel too loose. Lynn Dickey, here's a screen which did so well for the Packers in the first half of play. And again, they pick up enough yardage for another first down. That time it was Gary Lewis, number 81, second-year man from the University of Texas, Arlington. Packers love that screen.
This is one of those Dallas Cowboy plays, a tight end screen right over the middle. Suck the defensive line in, get the lineman out front, make a good block right here on Studwell. 10 yards, another first down.
So the Packers on a roll right now, but 1st and 10 at the Minnesota Vikings 44-yard line. Got a lot of momentum as a result of the early touchdown by Maurice Harvey. Eddie Lee Ivory plunges forward to the 40-yard line for a pickup of 4. It'll be 2nd down and 6. Mullaney making the stop along with Charlie Johnson, who is in there at nose tackle. Dickey has got some pretty good stats for a guy who hadn't played in a couple of months.
I'm really impressed with their game plan. You know, Dickey was telling us yesterday that they were going to throw the ball, but they weren't going to throw the ball into high traffic areas. Chance for interception.
2nd down, 6. Neither quarterback has had a pass intercepted today. Gary Ellis, the fullback, one of the great finds for the Packers in recent years. They picked him up on waivers after he was one of the last cuts of the Los Angeles Rams a couple of years ago, and he led them in rushing last season. 3rd down and 3.
Ellis had his biggest day of 1980, his rookie season, receiving the ball against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I looked at his back an awful lot that day.
Ball is spotted at the Minnesota Viking 37-yard line. Feverish action on the Packer bench. But no injuries in this game. It's a surprise a lot of people. Jefferson with a first down at the 28-yard line. JJ, they call him. Willie Teal made the stop. Cowboys in Tampa Bay fighting it out at Texas Stadium with Dallas with a 14-9 lead. And Atlanta, after trailing 14-0 in that game, has come on and now leading the Rams 20-14. You know, Rams, had the miserable time here in Milwaukee after they got in front of Green Bay 23-0 at the half, and the Packers roared back to beat them 35-23. Right now the Packers on the move with a first down at the Minnesota Viking 27-yard line. Lynn Dickey, good protection. Jefferson at the 10 to the 9-yard line. John Jefferson, who missed the second game of the year against the Giants after having a good outing against Los Angeles.
Dickey right here, he told us he was going to keep his backs in for extra protection, and he kept them in. He gets the ball right over the middle to John Jefferson. Jefferson has been a tremendous uplifting spirit to this Packer football team.
Good rush by Mark Mullaney, number 77, who arrived just a second too late. Jefferson made the first start of his Packer career against the Minnesota Vikings a year ago here at County Stadium. And having an excellent afternoon. Dickey is now 15 out of 22, and Jefferson has caught 4 of those. There's a timeout with 8 minutes, 39 seconds left to play in the 3rd period. Packers driving and leading 19-7.
Destination, there's no paperwork or waiting. Just go to your car and be on your way. Avis Shuttle Express. Another way trying harder makes Avis second to none.
Second to none.
Tuesday on CBS, a priceless treasure pits Frank Buck against a beautiful priestess and her band of assassins on Bring 'Em Back Alive.
Oh, boy.
NCAA basketball back on CBS this coming weekend. Next Saturday, Dean Smith's defending champion North Carolina Tar Heels against the Missouri Tigers. Tigers who have won the Big 8 title for the last 3 years. You can tell we've been off a couple months too, catching. First and goal to go from the 9-yard line. Green Bay Packers leading 19-7. Dickey almost fell down to give us to Ellis, and Ellis is down to the 1. Dickey lost his balance on the handoff and fell down as he gave the ball to Ellis.
When things are going right, they just keep on going for you. Here, Dickey almost falls down, but he manages to get the ball to his fullback, number 31, Jerry Ellis, and he does a good job of running through here where his offensive line did a good job of sealing off the defensive line. He cut behind the blockers. Number 54, McNeil on the tackle.
Second and goal to go from the 1. Eddie Lee Ivory. Did he cross the plane? No indication given by the officials yet. And Lynn Dickey is indicating to Bart Starr that he's about a foot short. Jim Jensen, number 33, racing on the field with the next play. So it'll be third and goal to go from the 1-yard line. Ellis comes out of the game. Let's see how they line up now. They've got Ivory in there. They've got Jensen. Big play here, a touchdown here by the Packers would really make it tough for the Minnesota Vikings. Ivory, touchdown. Well, the Packers have been a second-half team so far this season. The only difference in this game is they started a little bit earlier. They had the lead at halftime, and they have struck now for 2 touchdowns in the first 7 minutes of the third period. One by the specialty team, one on that drive, and now assume a commanding lead over the Minnesota Vikings. Stenerud on to try the extra point, which would make it 26-7. He's got it.
Here you can see Ivory follow his fullback, Jim Jensen, into the end zone. Jim Jensen did a crushing block over that linebacker.
That extra point very significant for Jan Stenerud, who is now the 4th leading scorer in the history of the National Football League. Spinning kick, bounds at the 10-yard line, and again never gets to Eddie Payton, the return man. We get a flag on the play as breaking into the clear for the Minnesota Vikings is Jarvis Redwine. He's down to the 20 to the 15, but I think it's going to come. Let's see, it may come back. We may have had a clip back at the 35. Let's see what the penalty is. One of the Packers is down. That'll be our first injury of the afternoon. Jarvis Redwine, running back from Nebraska. They'll bring it back. Pat Haggerty giving you the holding indication. Robert Brown, a linebacker, was the man shaken up for the Green Bay Packers. And that's our first injury of the day, which is remarkable in itself. Normally you would have more than that on a regular Sunday when they've been playing all year.
Well, that's the type of injury that you can expect on a kickoff team, a leg injury, probably a clip or a holding, someone pushing him from behind it to causing an injury like that.
Here's the call from Haggerty, the referee, who indicated there was going to be holding.
Number 67, holding on the run. Number 67, first down.
Dennis Swilley, number 67 of the Minnesota Vikings, adjudged guilty of the holding call. And that saved the Packers in that instance as Brown up on his feet and trotting off under his own power. Now the Vikings will have the ball at the 22-yard line. that's got to take the air out of your balloon.
It certainly does. You know, all of a sudden, you think you got 7 points. Wipe that by penalty.
Well, look at this. Steve Dills, number 12, the number 2 quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings, has come on to replace Tommy Kramer. Sends White in motion. And Dills with the sideline throw to Ahmad Rashad. They say he was out of bounds. It goes incomplete. Kramer, 9 out of 17 for 111 yards. And is out of the game right now. No indication he received any type of injury. But Bud Grant has decided to change quarterbacks simply in an attempt to get the Vikings going. See if we can see if he was out here, Joe.
It looks as if he gets one down, and the second one just crosses the line. Good call by the official.
2nd and 10. Vikings at their 22-yard line. Dills played his college football at Stanford. It's Terry LeCount, and LeCount in turn is level over on the far side by Mark Lee, number 22. He was a number 2 pick a couple of weeks ago. Tommy Kramer in the jacket there, looking on. I would think Bud just made the change to get things going here, wouldn't you?
Yes, to see if he can put another quarterback in and see if he can change the attitude and the whole pattern of the game.
Dills is in his 4th year. He was a 4th-round draft choice who started the first 2 games of last year when Kramer was sidelined with an injury. He's a teammate of Darren Nelson's at Stanford. 3rd down and 5. Ted Brown back at the 15, 20, and finally pulled down behind the line of scrimmage at the 17-yard line. And again, it was nose tackle Terry Jones, number 63, who made the stop.
You know, Frank, I don't know if it's so much the quarterback as it is the game plan. They haven't thrown the ball too far downfield, and the Green Bay defense is just all over their ball carriers and their pass receivers.
Swarming defense by the Packers. Green Bay fans have to be happy. Their team has looked very good. Coleman to punt. Almost blocked. And that takes a Green Bay bounce. Rolling back toward the Viking goal line and is finally down by Nord at the 44-yard line of the Minnesota Vikings. So the Packers take over in excellent field position with 5.5 minutes remaining in the 3rd period, and Green Bay enjoying a 26-7 lead. Well, the word we get from below is that Tommy Kramer left the game because he was experiencing a sore arm. And he's had the trainer and various people looking at it over there on the sideline, and that's the reason they brought Dills in. So Kramer out with a sore arm, perhaps due to some inactivity. Tommy told us he thought the season was over last week, and he went back home to Texas and was very surprised when he got the call to come back. So maybe some inactivity. Here's Dickey. Oh, Mullaney just shot through there like a rocket. And Lynn Dickey at the 47-yard line, and Dickey may have hurt himself. Dickey went down kind of funny.
Yeah, he fell on his knee, and he bent him over a little bit. He might have some problems, but I don't want to speculate on it right now, but he does appear to be in pain.
Mullaney, number 77, the right defensive end, really crashed through there. And David Whitehurst, number 17, the backup quarterback, immediately starts to warm up. Boy, nobody touched Mullaney.
No one touched him. He came in on just a straight rush. He beat the tackle to the inside. Clear rush. And Dickey had no opportunity to get out of the way. He never saw him coming.
Dickey has had every conceivable problem. That's the 6th sack by the Vikings. He's had knee problems, broken bones, hip problems. In fact, year before last, I think it was 80, was the first year he went through an entire NFL season without missing a game because of injuries. He's done a great job for the Packers so far this afternoon. 15 out of 22 for 244 yards and a touchdown. And David Whitehurst will get the call. Now, Whitehurst is no stranger to the Packer offense. He was the starter and was supplanted by by Dickey. David, in his 6th year from Furman, in fact, started 34 consecutive games for the Green Bay Packers before being supplanted by Dickey in 1979. And it looks like a back problem for Lynn Dickey. So both quarterbacks have now left the game. 2nd and 19. Big hole for Ellis. Gary Ellis pops through and is up to the 45-yard line. There's Dickey being attended to at the Packer bench. Could be a hip pointer, or it could be a back.
Yeah, he did. He fell in a very awkward position, so it could be any number of things. Right now, it appears that it could be his hip, the way he's walking, or his knee.
Dickey, former All-American at Kansas State. He was delighted yesterday to hear that his old school had been invited to a bowl for the first time ever.
He couldn't believe it, could he?
Yeah. 3rd down. Packers still need 11 for the first down with the ball at the Minnesota 44-yard line. Whitehurst almost intercepted as he threw it behind the intended receiver, Epps. And an opportunity for an interception went awry. Willie Teal, number 37, was close to it. So the Packers will be punting. Boy, that hurts. You can just tell the look on his face that he is ailing. Stakowicz to do the punting.
This is the first time he's been in a while, isn't it?
That's right. Vikings need a big play. They've got 10 men up on the line of scrimmage. They could use a block punt here or something. Pretty good rush. Got the kick away. Bounces at the 15. And will be downed at that point. Huckleby, number 25, down quickly. 4 minutes, 15 seconds left to play in the 3rd period as the Vikings take over. Next Sunday, most of you watching will see one of these 2 games. Viking fans, of course, will see the Vikings take on the Bears, with that game scheduled for the Metrodome in Minneapolis. And the Packers, I'm sure, Packer fans follow their team to Shea Stadium in New York as they take on the Jets. Both games coming your way on CBS. 30 yards on the punt by Stakowicz. Well, both of the number 2 quarterbacks are in right now. Terry Dills for the Minnesota Vikings completes that pass to Rashad, who juggled it, got it back, and was dropped at the 23-yard line. And, of course, Lynn Dickey for the Green Bay Packers on the sideline.
He was just telling Karen where he was hurting. It was in his hip.
And the word we get is that it is not a serious injury, so we could see Dickey back, and Bart Starr over there checking with him right now as Dickey trying to loosen it up a little bit. 2nd down, 2 for the Vikings at their 23-yard line. Dills looking to the far sideline, never got his arm up. Rich Wingo, number 50, came blowing through there. And the Packer pass rush here in the 2nd half has really picked up steam.
Well, Coach Starr told us that they might try to blitz a little bit and do some stunning up front to try to take advantage of that inactivity that the offensive line had been having on this layoff. And it paid off right there in a sack for Rich Wingo, the middle backer that was coming in on the stunt.
Whitehurst isn't completely loose on the sideline, so you saw the Green Bay Packer taking a few more throws as he had to come into the game rather suddenly. 3rd down and 10. Minnesota at its 15-yard line. 1 running back. Pass will be completed short of the yardage necessary for the first down. Over on the far sideline, things getting very close in Atlanta. With the Rams now moving up on the Falcons, Chicago has moved ahead of Detroit in the 3rd quarter of that game by a margin of a field goal. And Dallas hanging on by 5 over Tampa Bay. A lot of close games.
I tell you, they are. It's going to show you we're having some very competitive games today, and that these guys came to play.
4th down and 2. Coleman kicks it away. Philip Epps at his own 38 up to the 40. 41-yard line. This is the first time this year that Bart Starr has turned Epps loose on punt returns. Dickey still hobbling, trying to get it back. Lynn, of course, has started his career with the Houston Oilers at the same time that they had Dan Pastorini. And that's the one thing that coaches really dread is having, no, not dread, but it's a tough situation to have two quarterbacks about the same age, both very promising.
Yes, it is. We've had a problem like that in Pittsburgh.
Doubleheader game on most of these CBS stations, and you won't see it in Milwaukee. San Francisco against the St. Louis Cardinals. 1st and 10. Oh, look at this. A reverse to Jefferson. 40, 45. Jefferson to the 50-yard line and is out of bounds at the Minnesota 47. Well, that's one play you didn't think they'd pull off with 3 days preparation.
Matt Blair's going to make a great play here, saving what could be a possible touchdown. Here on a reverse, Lofton handing off to John Jefferson. And here you see Matt Blair right here just gets a hand on him, which saved a long run. Jefferson was off to the races.
It's a first down for the Green Bay Packers at the Minnesota Viking 48-yard line. Packers leading by a score of 26-7 late in the third quarter. Lofton in motion. The handoff straight up the middle goes to Del Rogers, the rookie running back from Utah. Carries to the 35-yard line. Number 49 for the Minnesota Vikings is Keith Nord, being tended to on the sidelines. Jets are putting it on Baltimore to the tune of 37-0. And Cincinnati having an easy time of it with the Philadelphia Eagles. New Orleans over Kansas City in the fourth period. Saints by a margin of a field goal. And Buffalo leading Miami by 1. Second down, 7. Packers from the Minnesota 45. Whitehurst for Lofton. Lofton slipped as he was making his cut and couldn't get to the football. James Lofton.
He was open momentarily. The ball was just slightly underthrown.
Jefferson and Lofton between them have caught better than 8,000 yards worth of receptions, almost 500 catches.
Lofton,
their respective
Jefferson and company. Right here, you'll see the ball just get tipped. It was slightly underthrown by Whitehurst. Lofton had a step on the defender.
Third down, call it a long 8 or a short 7 for the Green Bay Packers from the Minnesota 45. Whitehurst over the middle, trying to hit John Jefferson. Good defense by the Minnesota Vikings. Curtain off, number 25. And JJ didn't particularly care for the call. He thought he took a shot there before the ball got there.
I think he was correct.
Punting situation for the Packers with 1:20 left in the third period. And Stakowitz a little below his season average so far, which is 46 yards. Eddie Payton is deep. Big rush again, and they almost got to Stakowitz. Payton will run this one back from the 13. And is stopped shy of the 20-yard line. A good coverage by the Green Bay Packers specialty unit. Roaring down there was John Thompson, number 87. Well, the holidays are coming up, and that means a lot of sports. A lot of great NCAA football, two of college football's oldest rivalries, Oklahoma-Nebraska. That determines the Big 8 champion and the host of the Orange Bowl on Friday. And then Saturday, Notre Dame goes to USC, and they haven't beaten the Trojans at the Coliseum since 1966. Collegiate doubleheader Friday and Saturday on CBS Sports. 1st and 10 Vikings. Sensor in motion. Dills back to throw it. Airs it out for Rashad. Not a bad thrown ball, Joe.
Not a bad thrown ball. It's time for them to start doing something like that.
So the Vikings, who have relied on the short game, went for the long one that time and almost paid off big.
On the left of your screen here, you can see Douglas get blocked pretty good by Nelson. He airs it out downfield, just a little bit too long for Rashad to get to it. Those are the kind of things that they're going to have to do to get in this ball game. 2nd
and 10. Vikings trailing 26-7. The Packers with 13 points in the second period and 13 here in the third. receiver offense with Terry LeCount, the third wide receiver. They go with the reverse. The fake play, the old Statue of Liberty. Tony Galbraith, number 32, came into the game for the first time. The former New Orleans Saint was tripped up for a loss of 5 yards in the play. So nothing going right for the Minnesota Vikings.
Byron Braggs made the play, number 73. He's the guy that's limping right now.
Yeah, Byron's hurting a little bit, and he will leave the field. That sets up a 3rd and 13 for the Vikings, who are back at their 16-yard line. Dills, sideline throw. Let's see if it's ruled a completion or incomplete. Either way, it'd be short of the yardage necessary for the first down.
This Packers secondary has been making some strong contact today. They've been hitting those receivers pretty good.
That was Leo Lewis, number 87, who made the catch. It was ruled complete before he fumbled it out of bounds. And the third quarter has just come to an end. The Vikings will have a 4th and 3 when we come back. That's the end of the third period. We pause now for a word from your local station.
CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by Chevrolet. Chevrolet is USA 1, and USA 1 is taking charge.
Frank Lieber along with Joe Green, and the Pack attack is rolling here at County Stadium in Milwaukee as we head into the final period. Green Bay leading by a score of 26-7, and the Vikings with a 4th and 3 from their own 27-yard line. Again, Coleman in to do the punting, and Epps is deep. Coleman's had a busy afternoon. False step there, and he finally got it away, and a great punt. That's his 9th kick of the day. Epps from the 20 back to the 25 and derailed at the 30-yard line. So the Packers will put it in play right there, enjoying that very comfortable lead. 19 points. Green Bay out in front, 26-7. And we'll return to County Stadium in Milwaukee in just a moment. 1st and 10 for the Green Bay Packers, who have absolutely dominated this game, not only in the scoreboard, but statistically as well. As you can see, Packers have the football at their own 30-yard line. Epps is in at a wide receiver position as John Jefferson being given a rest. Pitch out goes to Gary Ellis from Whitehurst, and Ellis ridden out of bounds after a pickup of no more than a yard. Joe, we discussed prior to the game the difference in philosophies, and right now it looks like the Bart Starr philosophy is paying off with more substitutions and all, and not treating it like nothing ever happened.
I think the big thing right here was that he did cut back his offense a little bit, simplified it, and you can see there that the quick burst up the middle, the quick passes, the rhythm passes that Dickey said that he wanted to do today, and they're doing it. On the other hand, the Vikings have had a problem getting an offense.
Well, Bud Grant absolutely insisted to us that this would be a normal game plan, and he expected his players to go the entire game. Ellis taking the short toss from Whitehurst and being dragged down again at about the line of scrimmage. Tommy Hannon came up from the secondary, 6th-year man from Michigan State, to make the stop. Ellis is the leading rusher in the game so far with 9 carries for a total of 40 yards. It's been the short passing game primarily that's paid off for the Green Bay Packers. They did break one short, one long to Ivory for 62 yards. It set up their first touchdown, and really got him going. The thing that kind of turned this ball game around, Joe, seemed to be that second-half kickoff.
Oh yeah, that kind of took the wind out of the Viking sails there. They haven't recovered from that yet.
Maurice Harvey running it in for a Green Bay touchdown. Whitehurst in trouble behind the line, and is dropped at the 27-yard line. Set up a punting situation. 4th and 14. Doug Martin getting the sack, number 79. Other scores around the league. Saints by 7 over the Kansas City Chiefs. That game is now in the 4th period. Miami 2-point leader over Buffalo. Bills, of course, were 2-0 coming in. Cleveland leading New England by a touchdown in the fourth period. Steelers and Houston tied at 10. That's down in the Astrodome. Boy, Steelers, they really got off to a good start, Joe.
They were really smoking.
Stackowitz with the punt for the Green Bay Packers. Peyton at the 25. Fumbles at the 30. I believe the Vikings got it at the 32. Yes. Minnesota with the fumble recovery. Hannon, number 45, was there to follow the football. So the Vikings go to the attack with 13 minutes and 8 seconds left to play in the game, and Green Bay leading 26-7. Great way to spend Thanksgiving Day with CBS Sports and the lines of the Giants. Green Bay has out first down the Vikings 2-1. At this point, Minnesota with a 1st and 10 from the 31-yard line. Sensor in motion. Dills with the sideline throw intended for Sammy White, and Johnny Gray got his hands on it, number 24, the Packer defensive back, and tipped it away. Green Bay looking very sharp. Art Starr kept the schedule this week pretty much to what would be a normal week. He did work him out, I believe, twice on Wednesday, but unlike the Vikings, who worked out 2-a-days most of the week and had night meetings, the Packers did not go for the night meetings.
They concentrated more or less on the mental aspect of the game. Coach Starr said that that's what they wanted to do.
Dills 5 out of 8 for 24 yards, going upstairs again. Intended for Brown, and Wingo, number 50, was out there covering. The Viking running back. Pass is incomplete. That'll set up 3rd down. And 10 needed for the first down.
One of the first things that you lose when you have inactivity is your reaction. Reaction to different keys that each and every player has to read. And the Green Bay Packers, they both teams went through that in the first quarter, but the Packers seem to have adjusted pretty well through the course of this ball game.
A couple of the Viking defenders looking on. Holloway 75 there, and Martin number 79. 3rd and 10 from the 30. Steve Dills caught behind the line, runs out of it. Not enough for the first down. Picked up 5 on the play. They kind of made a sandwich out of him, didn't they, Joe?
I tell you, defensive linemen love that. They love to chase one of those quarterbacks down. They had fun with that play.
4th and 5. Don't forget, coming up on most of these CBS stations, the second half of our comeback doubleheader. San Francisco 49ers and the St. Louis Cardinals, the defending world champion 49ers, are 0-2, and they absolutely can't afford to lose another one here. Coleman with his 10th punt of the afternoon. Oh, that's a beauty. Driving Epps way back to the 13-yard line. Up to the 20. Fumble the football. Nord picked it up for the Minnesota Vikings, number 49. And the Vikings get a break at the Green Bay 20-yard line.
You never know when the big play is going to happen, so you always keep hustling. Keep hustling. Anything can happen. Right here, Nord comes down, and the ball is right there in front of him, and he aggressively recovers the football.
There's a great hit by number 52, Dennis Johnson of the Vikings, that caused that fumble. But again, we'll point out we have seen very few turnovers in this game. There's Hannon, who came up with a big one there. Certainly not as many as you'd see in a normal game without the disruption we've had. That punt by Coleman is a 54-yarder. Now the Vikings need a quick one. Dills over the middle, intended for Sensor. Intercepted by Garvey. Now they're calling it incomplete. Sensor had his hands on it. Garvey tried to pick it up before it hit the ground. But the official said it was incomplete. Maurice Harvey. I got Garvey on the mind for some reason. I don't know where I've heard that name before.
Right here, there's an interception right there, and he just couldn't hold on to it. And right here, it hit the ground before Garvey could get to it. Anderson Almost had him in the interception. Number 59.
Yeah, I got you saying it now. Garvey.
Leave me alone, Frank.
Maurice Harvey is the man's name. All right. 2nd and 10. Dills, good protection, hits Sensor at the 10-yard line. That should be enough for a first down. John Anderson, number 59, making the stop. Vikings in bad need of a touchdown here. We get an official timeout. The official says close enough for measurement, so they'll bring in the change. This is an absolute must-score situation for the Minnesota Vikings. If they're to harbor any hopes at all, they get the first down. We've got 11 minutes and 38 seconds remaining. And Green Bay leading 26-7. Who joined us late, both number 1 quarterbacks are out of the game. Steve Dills replacing Tommy Kramer, who came up with a sore arm. And Dickey out after suffering a hip injury. Great try by Joe Sensor, the tight end, number 81, as Dills really was under heavy fire.
Excellent effort. I tell you, the Vikings picked up this blitz real well, and Sensor almost makes a fantastic catch right off his fingertips. He extended himself as far as he could go. Ball was just a little too far thrown.
Joe Sensor set the NFC record for most receptions by tight end. He had 79 last year. He was the 5th leading receiver in the NFL. 2nd down, and goal to go from the 9-yard line. Again, Dills back to throw it. Intended for Nelson at the 5. Packers playing some strong defense. There's Darren Nelson, the number 1 draft choice of the Minnesota Vikings, for very good reason. Runs a 4.440. He's the NCAA all-time all-purpose yardage leader. Tommy Kramer, a word with head coach Bud Grant.
They took out 2 linebackers and brought two defensive backs in.
3rd and goal from the 9. Brown in motion. Dills in trouble. Gets rid of it. Knocked down.
Super defense.
Mark Lee with the defensive play, number 22. As Sammy White was the intended receiver, and it'll be 4th and goal. Watch it again.
Dills gets a lot of time, and he's looking at one receiver all the way. He's trying to wait for him to break open, but here it's just too many defenders. Right there at the last second, the ball gets tipped away.
And another great defensive play by the Packers. There's Lee, number 2 draft pick a couple of years ago. He came to camp first day as a rookie and blew out a hamstring. Cost him almost the entire season.
The Vikings need a touchdown. They need to get into the end zone. It's very crucial that they get a score on this play.
4th and goal from the 9. Blitz is on. The Packers decided to blitz. And Dills had to rush his throw. And I think these fans have forgotten that a strike ever happened. Packers leading 26-7, and we'll be back in Milwaukee in just a moment. Frank Lieber with Joe Green at County Stadium in Milwaukee. Great job defensively by the Green Bay Packers. After thwarting the Vikings on 4 shots inside the 10, they take over. 1st and 10 from their own 9-yard line. David Whitehurst, the quarterback. Pass is complete. And I'm a little surprised in that situation that he would come out throwing the football. Gary Lewis, the backup tight end, 2nd-year man, made the catch.
Well, it appears that he called an audible there. He saw the blitz coming, and he got the ball away just in time, just in the nick of time.
Pickup of 9 yards on the play. It'll be 2nd down and 1 for the Packers at the 19-yard line. Jefferson split wide to the left side. Ivory and Ellis in the setbacks. Ellis, the fullback, plows forward to the 24-yard line. I think right now the Packers would like to work on that clock a little bit, which shows exactly 10 minutes left to play in the game. And they'd be content to grind out a nice long drive and take about 7 or 8 minutes in doing it.
This is not a bad Packer football team.
It's a very good Packer football team. I'll tell you, the 3 starts they've had this year have to make believers out of you.
They do some real smart things offensively, and they have a swarming defense, a very aggressive, hard-hitting defense.
Didn't get behind early in this game. They led at halftime, in case you joined us late, 13-7. And again, sticking on the ground, this time the handoff to Del Rogers, number 35, the rookie running back. Picks up just a couple of yards to the 25-yard line. There's the attendance, as we said at the very beginning of the game today. This is the first game since 1960 that the Packers have not sold out here at County Stadium in Milwaukee. Capacity here some 55,000. They had 4,799 no-shows and 44,000 plus actually in attendance. Whitehurst sideline throw, and Lofton went high for it, but everybody was out of bounds, so it made a little difference.
Everybody was out of bounds.
Packers only home game this year in Green Bay will be on December 12th when they take on the Lions. That's the way the schedule worked out. And speaking of the Lions, Detroit and Chicago are knotted now in the 4th period at 17 all. And again, the Lions will be in action on CBS. Billy Sims and company on Thursday afternoon, the annual Turkey Day battle. This time against the New York Giants. For years, you know, it used to be the Lions and the Packers on Thanksgiving Day in Detroit. 3rd down, 9. Vikings faking the blitz. Whitehurst with the sideline throw, completes it for the first down. J.J. John Jefferson with the pass reception at the 43-yard line. I think he fooled the defenders there. He never looked like he was going to catch the ball.
No, he didn't. And the defender had it appears that he reacted very slow to that football there, John Jefferson, a tremendous asset to this football team.
Rufus Best, number 21, making the stop with an assist from Hannon. And the Packers have a chance to keep the clock running now. 1st and 10 at their 43-yard line. That's what Whitehurst has done since coming in for Lynn Dickey. And he's going to keep on throwing, this time long for Lofton. He's out there and he overthrew him. Lofton was 5 yards behind everybody, and Whitehurst overthrew him by an additional 5 yards.
I tell you, the Packers have gone to school on the Vikings. Right? Wide open. Just a little shake move here, and he gets wide open. The ball just a little bit overthrown. The Packers know a great deal about the Vikings. They know this team. They know where to attack.
Lofton is also the Green Bay player rep, so he's been heavily involved in the discussions as a member of the executive council.
I wonder where he worked out doing this layout.
Well, a lot of the guys I know are in New York are running up and down the streets and Central Park and everything else.
Running from muggers.
2nd and 10 from the 42. Ivory takes the handoff and goes nowhere. Matt Blair says, I got the football. How about give me 6 here? One thing about Blair, you can tell he's been working out. We talked to him yesterday afternoon. He looked about as good shape as anybody I've ever seen.
Oh, he's awesome. It didn't appear to me that he had missed a day of working out.
Third down coming up. Packers will need a little more than 10 for the first down with the ball at their 42-yard line. Clock showing just over 8 minutes left to play in the game. Whitehurst. Pocket broke down on him that time, and he is sacked back at the 30-yard line. Good strong rush by the Minnesota Vikings.
Neil Elshire.
Yeah, number 73, young pass rusher. Other scores from around the NFL. Not much change there from what we showed you a bit earlier. Eagles finally scored on Cincinnati. Stankiewicz to do the punting for the Green Bay Packers. Peyton is deep. You can hear the discussions going on in the background about who's got who. Peyton from his 25 heads to the far sideline and is down at the 32-yard line. It's the 7th punt of the day for Stankiewicz. 7 minutes 24 seconds left to play in the game, and the Packers have it in hand. Again, a reminder, two of college football's oldest and most intense rivalries renewed this weekend on CBS. Oklahoma, Nebraska, and Notre Dame and USC. 26-7. Green Bay leading. Minnesota 1st and 10 from their 31. Their #1 quarterback, Tommy Kramer, out of the lineup with a sore arm. And Steve Dill is trying to put some points on the board. Interception by number 24. Now they're going to rule it a trap. Johnny Gray with a shoestring try. And they're saying he trapped the ball, so it goes as an incompleted forward pass. I have to say that was a pretty good call. I thought he trapped it as well.
It's close.
Yep.
The Packers have that second line defense in there, and they also have some new linebackers in there, second team linebackers in there.
Oh, wait, where are you going tonight, Joe?
I have to go to the big city.
I hope if you see any of your mugger friends there, I'm sure you'll be able to take care of yourself.
I got a little friend with me that's going to protect me.
I see. 2nd and 10.
He's talking in my ear.
Sideline throw by Dills intended for Bobby Brewer. The tight end is incomplete.
Oh, boy, did I get myself in trouble.
That's right. They'll be ready for you tonight. Of course, you're going there, we know, to be on the CBS Morning News tomorrow and talk about what's happened today in the NFL.
Yes.
Final score. How about that? Rams jump on the Atlanta Falcons 14-0 in the first half. And Atlanta comes from behind to beat them 34-17. Another final. The Saints with a surprise. Beat Kansas City 27-17. Bum Phillips has got the Saints back on the beam.
Thinking playoffs in New Orleans.
3rd and 10. Vikings. Rashad lets that one slip through his hands. However, there's a penalty marker down at the line of scrimmage. The penalty is against Minnesota. Everything's going wrong for the Vikings. Well, Ahmad has dropped a couple today. You would never see it drop.
No.
We have holding, number 51, offense, decline, 4th down.
So again, the Vikings are thrust into a punting situation with just over 7 minutes left to play in the game.
Well, the Vikings were struggling offensively when the last season ended, and they continue to struggle offensively.
That's 11 punts on the afternoon for Coleman. Epps, who fumbled the last one at the 20, 25, trying to cut back upfield and is ridden out of bounds near the 30. Tommy Kramer, who obviously has seen his last action of the afternoon. Kramer left the game middle of the 3rd period. What was described as a sore arm.
So the type of injuries that have been developing today have been associated with inactivity.
Next Sunday on CBS, you Viking fans will get to see your team against the Chicago Bears. And you Packer fans follow the Packers to Shea Stadium to take on the New York Jets. 1st and 10, Green Bay. Packers have 270 yards throwing the football today. Eddie Lee Ivory on the carry. Out to the 34-yard line. The coaches told us that they would rely a lot on the short passing game. And that's been the case.
We've seen a few takeoffs, but that is one of the easiest passes to throw and the quickest to get off.
Len Dickey, the Packer quarterback, who also left the game in the third period after being sacked by Mark Mullaney. We are told it's a hip injury, but not serious.
Let's hope he's got some ice on that hip, or he won't be able to get out of the bed tomorrow.
2nd and 7 for the Packers. Ivory comes out of the game. Del Rogers is in at the running back. Green Bay is going to call a time, looks like. Yep. Packers calling a time with 6 minutes and 11 seconds left to play, and Whitehurst will trot across the field to talk to Bart Starr and Bob Schnelker, the offensive coordinator. You know, this now with the new Dome Stadium in Minnesota is the last stadium in the NFL where the benches, Joe, are on both sides, the same side of the field. So one left.
That was always fun there, you know, looking right over to your right there and to your left and seeing the guy that you're playing against. It was a lot of fun. They had the cops standing between us, you know.
This is the last one. Reminder, next Saturday, NCAA basketball back on CBS. North Carolina and Missouri. The Tigers, of course, won the Big 8. In fact, have won it for the last 3 years. And Carolina, the defending national champion. It's from the Checker Dome in St. Louis. Next Saturday at 1 o'clock Eastern Time for NCAA basketball on CBS Sports. Another final score, the Cleveland Browns have beaten the New England Patriots by a score of 10-7, and Dallas has hung on to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 14-9. So I think the Bucs now 0-3. Boy, that's some hole to be in. And Dallas, on the other hand, is 2-1. Take a look at the difference in the statistics. Rushing, Packers have far outdistanced Minnesota. And it's been pronounced in the passing department as well, with Green Bay throwing for 270 yards. 2nd down 7 as we go back to play. Packers from their 33. Ivory. Penalty marker is thrown. Ivory very close to the first down marker at the 41-yard line. Green Bay hold will bring it back.
Now it appears it might be starting to fall apart a little bit.
Just over 6 minutes left to play in the game. Eddie Lee Ivory. I know of no one in the NFL that has worked harder to come back after 2 potentially career-ending injuries, such as the knee injuries he's had. There's the difference in the passing yardage.
Holding, number 54, offense.
A holding penalty against the veteran center Larry McCarron.
And the Packers hadn't tried any outside or wide plays until they got this big lead trying to run out the clock. Normally, their plays were the quick hitters up the middle that had been effective for them throughout the course of this ball game. Now they're trying to run out the clock, and they're trying wide plays.
2nd and 17. Whitehurst in trouble behind the line, gets the pass away and completes it just short of the yardage needed for the first down to Epps. Number 85. Bart Starr very high on this youngster. He wasn't drafted to the 12th round because of his size at 5'9" and 165 pounds. But he's going to be a great kick return man, and he's a fine backup receiver and played a great deal in the Monday night game against the New York Giants when Jefferson was out with a hamstring injury.
You got to give him a look when he runs a 40 and 4-3. That's putting him down.
Well, the Packers trying to keep this drive going, have a 3rd down, just under 3 yards needed for the first down. And Del Rogers, the rookie, picks up the first on a drive up the middle that carries to the 44-yard line. Matt Blair and Scott Studwell making the stop for the Minnesota Vikings.
That's the type of play that has been successful for the Packers today. That quick hitter that dive right over that guard that has that mismatch on the back. 250-pound player on say a 225-pound player. That's where the mismatch is in that 3-4 defense.
1st and 10 for the Packers at their 44-yard line. Ellis and Ivory, the setbacks. Ivory getting the call, picks up a yard to the 45-yard line, and then is shoved back. I'm sure the Vikings at this point would just as soon this ball game be over and regroup for next week in the Chicago Bears. 4.5 minutes and counting. 26-7, Green Bay leading. Packers led at halftime, 13-7. Packers were one of the teams that held together perhaps longer than most others during the strike. They worked out as many as 40 players on some occasions.
Yes, Coach Starr said that he gave credit to Jan Stenerud and Larry McCarron for keeping this team together and organizing those workouts.
Delayed handoff to Rodgers, and Rodgers squirts free for a moment. Gets up to the 48-yard line. Pick up of 3 yards in the play. Of course, Bud Grant told us again last night it wasn't that important, he think, for the teams to work out. That outside of passing and receiving, those are the only 2 things you could do common to the game in a non-game situation.
Well, to a degree that I think that he might be right, but I think you can't hurt yourself by being together as a team.
3rd down. Packers need 6 for the first down. Bud's very first coaching victory in the National Football League came on this very same field, County Stadium in Milwaukee. Been a long time ago, some 16 years. Blitz on. Whitehurst gets it away. Would that have been some catch?
Oh, incredible.
Jefferson got a hand on it, got the left hand on it, just couldn't pull it in.
He got tripped a little bit there. I don't know whether it was inadvertently or not, but he was tripped right here by number 21. Rufus Best.
Lofton going one way, Jefferson the other.
Just did miss it.
Whew. Whereas he's made catches like that. 3 minutes and 5 seconds left to play in the game. Peyton is deep. A lot of the fans heading for the exits now, feeling this one's in the Packers camp. Oh, look at that. How about that for some kind of hop?
I bet you he wants to take that play. He doesn't want to refuse it. He got a penalty on him. I'm sure he has an option, but I think they want to take that one. It's not going to be enough to give him a first down.
Offside against Minnesota on the punt. That's a 50-yard kick. Dead on the 1-yard line by Stakowicz.
Offside, number 56. The defense declined. First down.
Again, coming up on most of these CBS stations immediately following the conclusion of this game, the San Francisco 49ers and the St. Louis Cardinals. Vikings with a 1st and 10 from their own 1-yard line, trailing by 19 points with 2 minutes and 56 seconds to go. And things going well in the camp of the Green Bay Packers. Steve Dills has played most of the second half at quarterback. 6 out of 18 for only 35 yards. Tony Galbraith on a drive up the middle for 2 or 3 yards. Byron Bragg's number 73 making the stop along with Richard Turner. Starr's got a lot of his second liners in there now, pulling his starters out.
I think he pretty much did what he said he was going to do. He was going to substitute liberally, and he has.
Dills throwing from out of the end zone, completes the pass to Galbraith, and he should have enough for the first down at the 13-yard line. Vikings had one impressive drive. That in the second period, climaxed by Tommy Kramer's 5-yard scramble for a touchdown. But outside of that, they have not had a serious scoring threat. 2-minute warning is going to both benches right now. 2 minutes left here in Milwaukee, with the Packers leading the Vikings 26-7. Two minutes left to play in the game. The Vikings have the football, 1st and 10 at their own 14-yard line, but it is all academic. academic at this point. Glenn Dickey seems to have perked up a little bit after being injured in the third period, suffering what was described as a slight hip injury. And Bart Starr has held him out for the remainder of the game.
He doesn't have any ice on that hip.
In his stead, David Whitehurst has come on to complete the mop-up job against the Minnesota Vikings. Tommy Kramer also out of the game with a sore arm. Suffered in the third period. Dills taking his place, and Steve Dills with a throw over to the far side to Steve Jordan, who is a rookie tight end for the Minnesota Vikings.
One of 2 players from the Ivy League.
Second down, 4. Hurry up offense by Minnesota. Again, they go to Jordan, who is ridden out of bounds over on the far side by John Anderson, number 59. Other final scores around the NFL repeating. Atlanta has beaten Los Angeles 34-17. Bears and the Lions still tied in the fourth period. Dallas has beaten Tampa Bay. And the Jets ran all over Baltimore. Cincinnati hung on, thwarting the comeback by Philadelphia to win it. Saints with an upset over Kansas City. Our score 26-7 Green Bay. Dills over the middle, pass incomplete, intended for Sammy White at the 45-yard line. Miami nipping Buffalo by 2, knocking the Bills from the ranks of the undefeated, even with Joe Cribbs back. Cleveland outlasted New England, and the Steelers coming on strong in the fourth quarter. Joe Green's team leading Houston 24-10. Can I still say they're your team or what? Would that be safe?
I think that'd be safe to say.
Second and 10, Minnesota. Dills setting up. Sidearms it out to Tony Galbraith, and Galbraith will go out of bounds at the 30-yard line. The Packers, Ezra Johnson, number 90, Lofton, number 80. Got to be happy with the way that things have turned out. Here at Milwaukee County Stadium, they're looking at 3-0. You realize that chances are it's only going to take 5 victories to get into the playoffs. They're in very good shape. There were 7 teams with 2-0 marks coming in today. Third down and 7. Bills trying to keep the drive going. There's a drop over on the far side. Terry LeCount, number 80. That will set up 4th and 7. I think Coleman's gotten a good workout, hasn't he?
He'll make All-Pro off of today's performance.
The kick number 12 unofficially for
you know, following what you were saying a few minutes ago, you know, Coach Starr said that he was happy to be at 2-0, but he said it didn't mean a whole lot if they didn't do anything with it. Right now, it appears that they have done something with it. They have turned it into 3-0.
Coleman's been hitting it well all day. Epps fields this one at the 30. 35. Exciting little player. Run out of bounds at the 40-yard line. The executive producer of the NFL on CBS is Terry O'Neill. Our senior producer, Charles H. Milton III. Our producer in Milwaukee, Eddie Gorn, and our director, Bob Daly. And some of the other people helping put the broadcast together. We're looking at the Viking record book, and Coleman apparently has set a record for most punt attempts. He held the old record of 10 against Buffalo. Unofficially now we have him at 12 punt attempts, as the Packers now at the point of running out the clock, or trying to, as we're down to under 1 minute. Again, stay with us, because most of you will be joining the second half of our CBS doubleheader, San Francisco and St. Louis. That will not be the case for those of you watching in Milwaukee because of an NFL rule. 2nd and 6 for Green Bay. Most of the remaining fans are on their feet. Jim Jensen. And that will probably be the last play of the game unless the Vikings call timeout. Why in the world, I wouldn't know. That's it. Packers are 3-0 for the first time since 1966 under Vince Lombardi. Now for Joe Green, Frank Lieber saying so long from Milwaukee County Stadium. The final score, Packers 26, Minnesota